You look very peachy today.
Thanks. You look peachy too, Mike.
No. I mean, like, you literally are wearing, like, a peachy, like, robe or whatever, like a
I am.
ceremony.
It's because I have like a top here that makes me look naked if I don't wear this.
Well, what's funny is I can't see the top at all, so what it looked like you did was, oh, I have a top here that makes me
Mhm.
look naked, so it just looked like you
It's
didn't
like
show that you didn't, yeah. So it just looks like you're naked right now, just putting on a, yeah,
no,
sweater.
it I just wanted to be naked on stream is honestly what that was about.
Yeah,
That's just me justifying it.
yeah,
Um I wanted to see what it would be like to just not have the countdown going.
yeah,
And so I just started it and it
yeah.
feels weird. I feel like I'm just pushing you into the edge of the pool.
I mean, I was ready. I'm not naked.
It's like the baseline requirement for a
Yeah,
live stream. You're like not naked,
not
ready to
naked.
go.
Yep, yep. I keep my camera up here. I don't have any need to like drop it down and show all my business
Hey,
beneath
I
the
didn't drop the
table.
camera down. I just lifted my titties up. I was just like, yo,
Oh,
here.
boom. See, she's wearing a shirt.
Oh, I didn't show the shirt. That's what you're saying.
Yes, like you can't. It's completely cut off at the bottom. So you said, "Oh, I'm just showing my shirt," and you reached down, doesn't
I
see it, and
mm.
then you just pulled like your sleeves, so it literally just looked like you were topless.
See. I'm wondering if I just sat here like this, if like the view count would go up, but
Yeah,
I don't think it
they're
did.
like, "Oh, what's that?" I mean,
It's like suddenly 50 people, and then
yeah,
YouTube bans me.
yeah. They're like, "Oh, wow." Oh, I don't know that they would ban you for that.
They wouldn't ban me for. I guess it's implied nudity. It's not real
Yeah.
nudity. It's like nudity light.
Well, I mean, they have like actual nudity on YouTube, so yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
titties?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So you can do it's crazy. So there's like a bunch of weird dumb workarounds on YouTube apparently. If you do like breastfeeding tutorials, sometimes women will do like breastfeeding tutorials,
Mm.
but there won't be a baby. Yeah.
What'll it be? A grown ass man?
No, just nothing. They're just like talking about it and stuff, but their boobs are out. There's also like what is it? Naked yoga. Yeah, they like like women will do like yoga with like transparent pants on and stuff like that, and they have like millions of views.
What
YouTube
do you
just
mean?
lets them
Like you can
sit
see
there.
their
Yeah,
vagine, their hoo
yeah,
ha,
yeah.
their downstairs mix up.
Uh huh. Yeah. There's like nudity all over YouTube. It's crazy.
I don't understand.
Yeah, they
Actually,
just YouTube just doesn't do anything about it. They just like leave it alone.
well, that I get because if it's like an instructional video, like what's the difference between like okay, I might regret this question. What's the difference between me sitting here like this and
Mm.
like some National Geographic thing with some like African lady's titties knocking down by her knees? Because mine knocked down by my knees. That's
Yeah. So
that's
by not letting you be topless, YouTube is actually like hindering the education that you could be giving
of the
people
masses.
of the
Hmm.
masses. Yeah.
About my masses.
This is you guys' intro, by the way, to the stream. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah, man. I was like, what if we just went live? And now
Well,
we're live, and boobs.
because we every time Mike and I come on, like we come on a couple minutes before, or normally we come in right when we're supposed to start, and then we talk for like 5 minutes, and then we're late. But it always feels more organic when we just like start, because
Mm-hmm.
like the banter we have when we're talking before the stream is like super. I don't know, clutch was the word that came to mind, but that's not what the children say anymore.
No, what are you doing?
Let's cancel it. Stream's canceled.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, that's how we end it. This live stream is like, yeah,
An
35
experiment.
seconds long, and she's just like, whatever, I give up.
I quit. I'm taking
Yeah.
my ball and going home. I'm taking my like heavy boobs and going home.
Just
I,
because, yeah, yeah.
okay, I'm debating doing this as like a sketch, and I don't know if it'd be funny to anybody but me. But I'm just imagining somebody singing. You know that whole thing of like, do your boobs hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie them in a
Oh
knot? Can you
no.
tie them in a bow? Can you throw them over your shoulder like a continental soldier? Do your boobs hang low? And then just cut out to like you're in a doctor's office, and that and the guy singing that was in a lab coat, and the woman's just like
That
checking the
actually could.
boxes off, and he's like, "This is very serious. I'm afraid it's terminal," or something like
That's
that.
actually really funny. That would be a really good sketch. Yeah. Because at first you're like, what is going on? Yeah.
Because it's just the whole song and it's just like staring like to camera. Like maybe it's just cutting back and forth between the two people and they're just looking at each other as he sings the song.
Yeah.
And
And he's
I
just
shouldn't.
like, yeah. I'm sorry to tell you it's terminal.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, you have 2 weeks. I shouldn't be giving away my sketches before I make them, but
You do that all the time.
I
It's
do.
all good.
I don't give the full one usually. Like this one, I even gave you like camera directions if you wanted to like cut and paste it and steal it.
Boom. All right, I'm posting this. I forgot to post this to Twitter,
Oh, me too.
but I have the perfect. I said Amanda is not topless, so that should bring people. We'll be like, wait, what is it? Topless? You know, I'm hoping somebody like just reads it incorrectly, and so they show up and they're like, oh man, you know.
And then they like downvote the thing massively. They're like, no titties.
But it's all engagement, so that's what we want, you know.
Look at Sean posted it before I did. I never post it. In my head, I'm always just like, nobody wants to watch this.
Mhm.
And
It's good. This is the confidence that she has for, in the stream.
Oh yeah, every time people are like, you need to share your whatchamacallit, Streamlabs link. I'm like, I don't want people to feel like they gotta give me money.
Yeah, I don't want to share that link. That would, be completely voluntary if you do that. Yeah.
Like that scene in Fame. She's just like, he's like, do you want to be famous, Coco? Anyway, some of y'all might be too young for that reference.
I know that reference because of a movie that wasn't that, but it was a parody and it was making fun of it, but I don't remember exactly what was happening. I just remember it was like an animal. I think she was a mouse or something in that.
There's a mouse getting topless?
Yeah, or something like that. I gotta find it. I don't know.
Was this a children's movie?
No, it's... I don't think so. I don't remember. I'd have to find it and look it up.
Okay.
Yeah. That also happens in the show Community, where Chevy Chase's character makes Donald Glover's character show him like this high five that he has, and he's like, "Oh, I want that high five. I want to like own it." So he like pays like them like $500 to like take their high five, and then he's like, "Cool, now do it to me. Like do the high five." And he's like, "I don't want to." And he's like, "Earn your money, whore." And he's like, and like does the high five. Yeah.
Speaking of movies, my friend Caleb sent me. It was just the most random thing. Like we were talking about something else, and then he goes, "You ever think about the ending of Ace Ventura? The guy that the transgender cop kidnapped, threatened to kill, etc., is right there. But instead, he strips her down and only proves his case by showing the other cops Captain Winky. But that's not proof of her kidnapping and murdering, just being transgender. The dude could have spoken up, definitely didn't. And the only proof of her crime the cops see before arresting her is she's tucking dong. Now I know what you're thinking. This is exactly the correct amount of critical analysis Ace Ventura merits. Not too much at all. I completely agree." That was just completely like...
That's really funny.
A beautiful film monologue. And I haven't actually seen Ace Ventura.
What?
Not this one, I guess.
Yeah, there's When Nature Calls, which is the one where he's in Africa.
I think I saw that one.
Okay, yeah, you have to see the first one. The second one is really funny, and I really like the second one. I think it's funnier than the first one, but the first one is a better overall kind of idea. Yeah, I don't know. There was actually like a lot of thought that went in the first one, apparently. Like one of the things that like Jim Carrey put in his contract, his stipulations, was that Ace had to be like a good detective. So he's like actually good at his job. He's just a complete idiot. And I love that kind of like juxtaposition. It's kind of fun. It's pretty good. And then there's the spoiler for you, about the...
Oh yeah, I hadn't seen it, so I was like, thanks for the spoiler. And he's like, look, it's not my fault that you chose to wake up every day for 30 years and said, today is the day I will not watch Ace Ventura.
Yeah, you really need to get on that, seriously. It's a huge mistake to not. It's comedy gold.
And I should have, but I think my mom, I didn't watch a lot of Jim Carrey's movies. Well, I watched The Mask.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I watched Liar Liar, but my mom hated him when he was younger. Or not, or like when earlier in his career where he was a lot more like, I'm doing all this shit. She was like, he's so annoying and he's crude and I don't like it. So I don't think
he was pretty crude. Yeah.
I never got to watch all that. But then like now he's like this like weird, annoying hippie. But I really liked him in the in-between phase when he was like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, like good dramatic actor. He had a show. I didn't finish it because I was watching it on a plane. But it's called, oh
Yeah, the one where he plays like the Mister Rogers character.
yeah, and like his kid had died or whatever, and it's like
I
this
haven't watched
dramedy.
it yet, but I've heard it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but now he's just weird. Yep.
Now
Well,
he's
and then
just.
he did a really good job as Doctor Robotnik in the Sonic movies.
I heard that.
Yes, those were
But
actually pretty fun.
in general, though, hasn't he kind of gone the Kevin Smith route?
No, he's more like the I freebased acid too hard and now I
Okay.
can't stop the trip route.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
thought he
he's
became
like
like Mr. Crybaby. Um, I don't know.
no, he's more like I mean, he's always been kind of out there, but now he's just open about it. He just basically talks about how he's not him. He's like I'm not really Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey's like the character I play and like how when he like does acting, he's like when he did like Man in the Moon where he played Andy Kaufman, he like became Andy Kaufman like and stuff. He's like very like metaphysical and
I mean, that also
yeah.
sounds like typical actor stuff. Like I believe that like people have a persona in public, so maybe that's what he just meant, where he's like
Yeah,
the
he's
Jim Carrey you know is not who I am at home.
kind of, but he's also it's pretty out there. You'll have to listen to him. We'll have to like I'll have to find some interviews that he does recently. He's very much like that, but he also like kind of is done with the Hollywood thing. For a while there, he said he wasn't doing movies, and then he came back and did a bunch of movies. So I don't know. Like,
I mean, I think
I
it's a hard thing to quit. Hollywood is like every time I'm like I'm quitting acting, and then I get like a really fun job. I'm like,
yeah
okay, that reminds me like why you love it. So I can get why people have a hard time retiring from this industry.
yeah, and he used to have I don't he doesn't have his website anymore. I don't think. No, he doesn't. But his website was like trippy. I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and like, yeah, JimCarrey.com used to be like this super super weird website. And it had like all these like crazy art designs and stuff on it. Let me see if I can. Nope, this is not it. Yeah, it's gone now. I think he's taken it off. But um, here I'll show you a picture of like some of his website designs and what they used to look like. Man, it's been so long since we've done this.
Oh, are you forgetting technology? Do I get to call you a boomer now?
No, they just changed the way that the layout looks now.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
I didn't have to explain it, so yeah. This like, this is what his website used to look like. Um, I was like,
I mean,
go
that's kind
there.
of funny. Like, it seems like he's like making a joke, maybe. Or does he
Yeah,
think he's like the new Salvador Dali or something?
I don't know, because like that was one of the other ones that used to look like, and you could click on all these different things on the website, and they would all do different things. Like this is one of the other ones. You could like click on them, and they take you to different links and stuff like that. It was a pretty interesting one. He also is like a pretty talented like artist. He does like a lot of paintings and stuff. I don't know. He's pretty he's interesting, dude.
I don't know if I believe
That's how I'll say
anybody's a
it.
talented artist.
No? Here,
I
let me
have a
see.
very, I don't understand what art is. Well, okay, I understand what art is. It's fine art, is my thing. Like visual art. I tend to be like, oh, that's pretty. To me, that's art. If I'm like, oh, that's a really cool thing, it makes me feel something, that's art. But for the most part, like, what was the one recently where it was like the guy taped a banana to the wall and that was art? And then like somebody like
Yeah.
went and ate the banana and they were like, and it's like,
No, you ruined my art. Yeah. He's a little bit more actual like artist. But
okay. Like it's not just like, oh, here's a toilet. This is art.
yeah,
Because
but
I
the other
say it
problem
is.
it looks like he does a lot of looks like recently he's been doing a lot of Trump artwork, so that's kind of
Mm.
like what most of it is now and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
What is it? Just like Trump and like a nude portrait, like when you say have the nude model, but he's just wearing like his MAGA
Kind
hat.
of. There's like this one where he's crucifying Jesus apparently.
What? Okay.
Um yeah, apparently he doesn't like Trump again, I guess. That's him bathing in sewage.
These are a little on the nose, Jim.
Yeah, like these
Jimbo.
ones are a lot, like okay, well here's one of him in his art studio and like you see that like these hearts and stuff. There's like some cool ones where he's like actually doing like some almost abstract
Okay.
paintings and stuff and yeah, like those are the ones that I used to hear about him doing. But then now he's like, "Oh, well, I'm just going to do a bunch of paintings of Trump because I'm I guess full
Oh,
of
those see,
myself."
these are interesting. Like that could be
Yeah.
art to me. Like, cause it's I don't know. Okay, Animane said, "I don't believe anyone is a talented artist." Is quote possibly the most artist thing you've said in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
believe
like,
in art.
nobody's a talented artist. What is art?
There's him. There's one that he did. Like these are the pretty ones, and these are the cool ones that he's done. But yeah, the one that he did with like Trump and stuff have just been kind of a little out of control. Yeah.
Abysmal Rapture says, yeah, Jim Carrey has severe TDS, but at first in my head I pronounce it like titties. And I was like, he's got severe titties. I'm like, so do I.
This is the titty stream. This is what we're gonna call it now because that's what's happening.
I should just make this my thing. Like for a while it was the veil, like a Victorian housewife, and now it's the opposite where I'm like a 70s housewife.
And you just wear like super low cut stuff, and it just looks like you're topless all the time.
And then YouTube's like, we don't know what to do because they're like trying to like, do we nuke the stream? Is it nudity? Not really. It's just shoulders.
Yeah,
just head and shoulders. Just this stream
shoulders.
Sponsored by.
Yeah, that would be it's a slippery slope to start banning shoulders. You know.
Yeah. Because then it's like, oh, all right, Al Qaeda.
Yeah. They're like, you know what? If you're gonna put that hijab on, that's how you're gonna like it. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. He's weird. I'll have to find some interviews with him. I don't know what YouTube's policy is. I think interviews are okay, but yeah, he gets really out there on some of his stuff. Let me see if I can find the red carpet one that he did. Yeah, I'll do the red carpet one that he did. I'll show you this real quick. This is like one of the ones he did recently. This is 2017, so not like super long ago. Oh, shit, hold on. Let me actually share my sound because we have to do that right.
Are you making fun of me? Or are you actually explaining what you're doing?
I'm making fun of you.
Well.
Because I think it's funny that you tell everybody what you're doing.
Yeah.
I find it very entertaining. The chat does too. So, all right. So yeah, this is him at a red carpet. I don't think he was invited to this event. I think he just showed up.
Okay.
Hey, Jim Carrey. Yes. What? I've covered a lot of fashion weeks. This is the first time I've run into Jim Carrey. Wait, tell me, is it true you're wandering the streets? You need a date to the party? What's up?
No. I'm doing just fine. I just, you
hear this?
There's no meaning to any of this. So I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am.
They're celebrating.
I mean, you got to admit it's completely meaningless.
Well, they say they're celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating
Do you believe
icons,
in icons?
boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we could come up with. It's like icons. Do you believe in icons? I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there is a wonderful fragrance in the air.
You don't believe certain icons have the power to make change, to think differently, to be bold, to inspire others?
Wait,
Artistry?
pause. Is this copyright? I don't know if it's going to be in trouble or not.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's like an interview, but anyways, that's... Yeah.
Wait. So the thing is, I thought for a moment, I'm like, oh, maybe he's like wanting to like raise an interesting philosophical question, but he's not giving her a chance to fucking talk.
Yeah.
He's just talking over her.
He kind of comes across like, I'm sure you've had friends like this, like that friend that got really, I don't know, mind altered. Like I got a friend that used to like do a lot of mind altering drugs, and eventually he just got to the point where he'd go on these rants, and instead of it being like you guys having a conversation, just him ranting at everybody constantly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's like with Jim. He almost is like compelled to do these rants at people, and it's less like, oh, let's sit down and have a conversation. It's more him like, I'm going to talk at you about this thing that I'm experiencing. And he came across kind of like a prick.
Yeah.
And what I've seen recently is he's a little softer and he's a little nicer about it now. But for a while there, he was like a prick about it all the time. It was pretty bad. Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
What?
I just opened Streamlabs just because I realized I'm like, oh, I should probably open it so I can make sure I don't miss anything. 18 days ago.
Oh my
I guess
God.
not during a stream. I guess Zoltar Xanthias tipped $20 and said, "Woot woot! Here's for your next project." So I just wanted to shout you out.
Awesome.
I didn't realize people could. I'm stupid. I thought they were only able to donate during streams. So that's really awesome. Thank you, Zoltar.
Wow. It's like I only check this when I'm live.
I mean, I don't just sit there and go, When will people pay me money?
Yeah, that's fair.
But I am excited because eventually, because we just got the channel monetized, so I'm trying to build up stuff so we can like start getting revenue, because then I can start hiring people, because I want to do like web series and like TV and film stuff, and Mike and I have some ideas for things, so we could start getting stuff rolling.
Yeah. Well, I'll stop it there just in case it is copyright, but that's the gist of that interview, and that's how he was for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's funny because you kind of get it, and I get it, like to an extent. Like you can almost get it sometimes with people, but if you're, I don't know, and I don't want to make it sound like exclusive or anything, because it's not. It's just sometimes the mindset. If you're not like around people like that, it's hard. It just is very off-putting.
Well, it's off-putting even if you are around people like that, because to me, it's like that doesn't read like a real human. A real human doesn't ask questions and then just like tell you what you should think. Like that's a narcissist, or I mean, that word's so overused nowadays, but you know what I mean. Like it's somebody who just likes to hear themselves talk. And also, I don't think it's it was just interesting that he was defining like what was meaningless. Like he's like, oh, to me this is meaningless because I am the arbiter of real art. Therefore, I tell you, like, it's like this might be her passion. Like, who the fuck are you to say what you like and what you spend time, what your career has built to is meaningless? I mean, technically everything's meaningless in life if you say it's meaningless, or everything is purposeful and has tons of meaning if you say it has tons of meaning. Like it was just very like condescending. It's very like, oh, I don't like mainstream music, I only like artistic music. It's music nobody's heard of. It's like, oh, okay.
I feel you 100%. I don't know, he's done a couple different things like that. I know so this is one because you obviously have done movies and stuff like that, so you kind of know what it's like. But I remember he got kind of blackballed in Hollywood for a bit for this one. He did the movie Kick-Ass 2. He plays a character in it, and obviously Kick-Ass, the movies are very violent and stuff. And when it came time to promote the movie, there had been I think it was the Sandy Hook shooting, so there was like a big thing, and it was all over the news and stuff. And he basically was like, hey, after that shooting, I can't justify the level of violence in this movie that I took part in. So he refused to promote it, and then like basically condemned the movie outright and was like, yeah, it was a terrible choice for me. The violence in this movie is awful. I cannot, like, in good conscience talk about this movie or promote this movie at all. And I guess all the actors are like, well, fuck that guy. Cause like, you know, they're like, it almost hurts the movie for you to be like, hey, don't go watch this movie now. And they all put their hard work and like effort and stuff into it. And yeah, that was like one of those ones that I remember people were like really like off put by, because he's like, yeah, I can't justify the level of violence in this movie. And they're like, your character doesn't even use a gun in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, that's, like I said, he's chilled out a little bit, but not much. But I don't know. That's, you know.
It is weird how I think Hollywood does something to people's brains, because actors in general, we're a weird bunch. Yeah. But I don't know, like my theater major friends, like we were eccentric, we were goofy, we were dorky, but we weren't like, there's maybe like one or two theater majors who are always like a little bit too into themselves. So I guess maybe he'd fall into that category. But even then, like everybody else around them was like, okay. And so you're kind of checked by the people that you're around. But I guess in Hollywood, you're so isolated from like real people that you just can get that far up your own ass and nobody will come find you. Nobody will. Or if they see you that you're that far up your ass, they're like, I don't know. Do we pull him out?
Yeah, what do we say?
Is he gonna smell like his like ass? Oh, let's just leave him up there. I don't know. Like,
he made $100 million in that last movie. What are you gonna tell him?
Yeah.
That's almost sometimes what I feel. But no, I kind of get you. I mean, it's weird. It reminded me of an interview that Dave Chappelle did on Inside the Actors Studio, specifically about Hollywood and stuff, because he was talking about that and how, like, I don't know, the industry itself, because the way he put it was, he's talking to James Lipton, and he goes like, there are no weak people in this industry. Like, he's like, you have to work really hard and you have to be really strong to be able to hear the no's and be told no constantly and still put yourself out there and do all this stuff. He goes, but why then do you see like Mariah Carey taking her clothes off on TLC, or like Martin Lawrence like running around in the streets like going, they're trying to kill me and stuff? Like, what is going on in Hollywood that like you have these actors having these meltdowns like, you know, in the streets and openly and publicly having these meltdowns, but like the industry, you know, but they're obviously people that work really hard and take their careers very seriously. And I thought that was kind of an interesting thing because, you know, based on what I've heard from like you and other people that have lived in LA and other people that have like been in Hollywood and stuff, they're like, it's such a different vibe there than anywhere else in the world. Or that, at least that's what I've been told, is it's like, it's very different. And like, I remember one guy, he wasn't even an actor that I knew that lived in LA. And he was just talking about, for him, one of the hardest things was that he didn't want to be an actor. He wasn't really interested in that. He's like a movie critic now. He was saying that like, one of the hardest things for him was everybody always felt like they were just looking at you like a stepping stone. Like if there's a chance that they could use you to move ahead somewhere, they would. And if you didn't, there was almost like no inherent value to you as a person. And I don't know. Yeah.
No, I agree, because I feel like, I mean, there were great people I met when I lived in LA, so I'm not going to pretend that every person there is not a real person, but you have to be much more aware of that using thing. So that's why, like, when I was doing online dating, I would go out of my way to not, like, if I saw somebody was like super into anime in their profile, I'm like, nope. Or somebody who
straight up a picture of Sailor Jupiter. You're like,
I've had people where like I'd like be like, oh, okay, he seems interesting, and then like the next picture of him was like him posing at a con with somebody I literally have worked with or knew, and I was like, oh, so he's like not only is he an anime fan, he's a dub fan, so he probably would know who I am and actually care. Because if he's a sub fan, we might be able to get along, because he's like, I don't really. You ain't shit. But like to me, like if somebody suddenly is like, oh, you're so and so, I'm like, I've had people that work for me, like, you know, somebody like gardeners or whatever, like somebody who's coming over to do like contracting work, and like when they find out what I do, they treat me differently, and I don't like it. So like I could imagine on a massive scale if people actually recognize you. Like I've only had that happen like once at like a Best Buy in Atlanta. But like if you're that famous and everywhere you go, like the cashier recognizes you, the person like unclogging your toilets recognizes you, I think that would get to you. There's no sense of like, can I just be a person? Like you feel like you're always being watched, and I bet you that's probably like a pressure cooker of crazy, because you're like, I don't know, like I see it being like, I can have a bad day, you know, like if I call customer service, like, I mean, I'm never going to be a bitch, but I might have a day where I'm like, look, I'm really frustrated. My internet's not working. Like, can we make like a thing, you know, like, and like, if I was a celebrity, people would be like, I talked to her and she was a bitch. I recorded it. Now it's on Entertainment Tonight. Like everything you do is under a microscope, and humans were not made to be seen by that many people, or that many people having opinions about you, and then having the ability to shout those opinions at you with social media. Like, I think it's just, I don't know. Then again, Martin Lawrence and Mariah Carey were going crazy before social media. So,
well, and that's what I think is interesting. But like you said, they're still in that vacuum of like being watched constantly, you know, and you know, we know there's a lot of, I mean, there's tragedies in real life and regular life too, but I don't know. Somebody mentioned how many times I actually mentioned Dave Chappelle. Yeah. You could get very drunk, because he's kind of like somebody I really look up to. I think he has a really good grasp on how the world works. He's not perfect, but yeah. One of the things that like, I don't know, I listened to Harrison Ford actually talked about that. He's like, you lose all anonymity. Like no matter where you go, everybody knows you're Harrison Ford, so you're Han Solo or whatever. And yeah, he said everybody looks at you that way. And I guess, you know, that's the thing. Like you've said before, sometimes like for actors and stuff, like some of them are just theater kids just looking for attention. And so I guess if you have like a black hole of like attention seeking, like it probably would never be like, you're like, oh, I love it, I need this, I thrive on it. Or like, you know, when you think about people like the Kardashians or whatever, and everybody's like, oh my God, I hate it, I hate that I see them everywhere. But it's like they are intentionally putting themselves out there constantly. They have cameras on their face like 24/7 and stuff like that. It's almost like they thrive on that kind of energy. But yeah, I mean, what does that do to your psyche after a while when you're never alone? You're always like being watched or whatever. And then also you never know who you can trust. Right. Because the people around you, you never know if they're actually there for you. They're there for your money.
Well, yeah, like I've heard, like all the articles where they're like a source close to them says. It's like you never know if the friend you're like telling all of your deep dark secrets to, or like you're venting to, is secretly like talking to TMZ. Or like I have a
Yeah.
friend who's a series regular on a TV show, and when she got engaged, her pictures leaked. So her Facebook is private, like it's only for friends. But
Yeah.
one of her friends saved the picture and sold it to like a news outlet, and she was furious, and she like wrote about it on her Facebook. But it's like, I
Wow.
can't imagine doing that to somebody I cared about. But then again, I'm not a piece of shit, so I'm
Yeah.
only marginally a piece of shit.
Yeah. There's like different tiers of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Of
No,
shittiness.
yeah. I think it's funny that you were like, yeah, when people treat you differently. I was gonna say, yeah, because like I'm just mean to Amanda no matter what. I don't give a shit what she's accomplished in her life.
I think that's important. Like just somebody who
Yeah.
will verbally berate you and treat
Yeah.
you like nothing,
Yeah.
regardless of what you've done. I think
Yeah.
that's real friendship.
Yeah, that's what it was. I just messaged her one day. I was like, listen, I'm gonna treat you like a piece of garbage regardless of what you've accomplished in life. So let's just do a live stream together. And she was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My therapist was like, I don't think this is a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's really dangerous, actually. Like, raising a lot of red flags. You're like, no, he gets it, okay? Like, it's fine.
Oh God. Speaking of red flags, I've been reading so many, like in the couple weeks since we've had this stream. I keep reading a lot of really terrible like relationship things. I don't know. I'm like red flag kind of stuff, or like, am I the asshole? And like there was one that was like, am I the asshole? It was something like, I'm curious as somebody who has kids. Uh it was one that I saw where a wife had given birth, and it was 7 months since she gave birth, and the husband was writing like, she used to like be sexy, like dress up sexy and wear like lingerie for me and like try to put in an effort. But like now that she's not doing it, I'm afraid she's dressing like a mom. And at first I thought she was just trying to be comfortable, but now I'm thinking this is like an everyday thing. Like, how do I get her to, like to kind of put in an effort? Not every day. That would be unreasonable, but maybe a couple days a week. And I'm just thinking, like, I haven't had kids yet, but I feel like even 7 months in, most of my friends were still like, I
Yeah.
hurt, especially the ones who had C-sections. They're like, I was cut in half.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you have C-sections, yeah, they're like, hey, we took your guts out and put them on a table next to you, and then ripped your baby
While
out
you were
of your
awake?
body. Yeah, while you were awake. So I guess, like, I think 7 months, yeah. I think 7 months is, like, pretty unreasonable. I think that there's still a lot of adjustments, and a 7-month-old takes a lot of work still.
Do you think, though? Oh, yeah, I guess you have okay, yeah. I was like, wait, you've talked about having a kid, right?
Yeah, yeah. December. So, yeah, it's been...
like 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months or something like that. Well, and I have 3, so I've done this 3 times or twice before. They require a lot of work. Here's the thing: you can't leave them alone for any amount of time unless they're sleeping. Then they're good. But like once they're awake, they're gonna be crying. They're gonna want things and stuff like that. So yeah, there's time. But like you have to think about it. I guess from the perspective of the woman, like you have a baby. It's a lot of work, and maybe the first like 3 months you need to recover. You're dealing maybe with postpartum and things like that. And maybe you've overcome that in that 3 months. That would be awesome. And you've been working out and stuff. But I think it usually takes about I think it takes like a year to like fully recover. But let's say you recover really quickly. Even with that, where is she going to find the time to dress up in lingerie when she has a baby that's like throwing up on her?
That's true. She's like, she's got to put the baby in one of those like hallway, the bouncer things, like where you put them in a door frame and they're just jumping. And she's like, sorry, but honey, mama's got to put on her fishnets.
Yeah.
Like,
she's like, good, forgive me. Yeah.
Got a contour.
Yeah. Now I think if he was like, oh, we're not having sex.
Yeah.
To me, that would be more of a conversation of like, hey, honey, I really miss being with you. Can we find a way to do this? But for him to be like, yeah, she's not dressing the way she used to. I'm like, dude, give her a fucking break. Like, give her at least a year, like, to figure this out.
I'm curious though, what if it was forever? Would you have a limit? Would you be like she just like for the rest of her life, no more cute, sexy, whatever. Like she's just
no more fishnets for the rest.
No more fishnets. No more. I don't know, lipstick or whatever you like. Like no more. No more. Well, this doesn't mean no more sex, but no more effort.
Yeah. I'd probably just kick her to the curb and move on. I'm just
She's
kidding.
Would you kick her and the baby, or would you keep the baby?
We'll keep the baby around. Yeah, I'm just like, all right, baby. This isn't really your fault. I'm just kidding. My wife actually watches this. I'm just totally kidding, honey.
You're like, I'd keep her. I'd keep her even if she got disfigured and horrible.
No, I think it's a discussion with anything. All of it is to me within the realm of discussion to say, hey, you used to do this thing. I really like this dynamic in our relationship. That dynamic is no longer here. What do we need to do to adjust? And maybe it's just like, I just don't have the time. I don't have the effort or like, I don't have the energy to do it. Then I guess I can understand that. But I mean, that's the thing. It's all about conversation and about communication and stuff. And so for me, him, in a way, I will say it like this, him whining about it on the internet, it seems very disingenuous versus if like, hey, I went to my friends and I talked to them, or I looked online and found relationship advice from people that have had kids before, versus him just being like, hey, Reddit, my wife won't dress up sexy for me anymore after she popped out a baby. What's going on with that? It's because it's like 7 months is not that long. Like
I have some compassion for him, I guess, because I do understand, like, if you're used to a certain thing and then some big thing has changed, I can understand the concern of like, hey, is this forever? And at what point can I say something, or can I just never say something?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's too fucking soon. But it was just interesting to me because I'm like,
yeah, I think it's a balance. But like, if you're 2 years into it and you're like, hey, this was a dynamic I haven't been able to see, and maybe for him and his wife, they don't really have like, they don't talk about things very often, or I don't know. But like, the fact is that he's talking about it on the internet 7 months into it, and not like, because I get that he's unsure of when to bring it up to her, but I think there's a way to have that conversation without offending her. You don't go, hey, you don't dress sexy for me anymore. What's going on with that? You go like, hey, how are you feeling after having this baby? What's the dynamic like? Because, yeah, I don't know. And also, that's the thing too. Like, at what point, like, how much effort does she need to put in for you? Because that's the other thing too. Like, the way he makes it sounds like she put a lot of effort into looking nice for him consistently. But then, the conversation has to be about, once again, she's probably, if she's not breastfeeding, she's still bottle feeding this thing at this age. So that takes a lot of work. Like, what, she's supposed to like walk around in her like 90 and like her high heels while she's like, making food for this baby and stuff. I don't know. It just feels a little odd,
Okay.
Yeah, that felt odd, but once again, a big part of it is the time frame. 7 months is just not long enough.
Well, how about this one? I found a good one. That's am I the asshole for not wanting my husband to go to his ex's funeral? Now, I'll just give me your reaction based off the title, and then I can elaborate, because I haven't read the whole thing. I kind of just skimmed it just now.
Once again, that's a case by case thing too, but my general feeling would probably, I don't know, actually, that's a tough one. It's context. A good example, I guess, would be like, your ex, maybe you still were in contact with their family or something. I don't know. Like, there could be situations where you don't talk to the ex anymore, but maybe you talk to their family or something still. So when they died, you're going there to support the family. I guess that would be a context I'd be okay with. But yeah, if like, hey, my ex-girlfriend died, or my wife's like, hey, my ex-boyfriend died, I'm going to go to his funeral, I'd be like, oh, okay, like, you don't talk to him anymore. Why go to his funeral now?
Well, see, this is kind of what I was thinking. Shield Wall says it's a funeral, so he probably ain't going to cheat on you with her. Like, to me, I'm like, that's usually the risk of like, if you're like, hey, I want to hang out with my ex, or hey, I want to do this and that, there's always the concern of, are there still feelings there? But even if there's still feelings there, they're going in the ground. Like, I don't know what you're worried about.
I guess it's more like the emotional thing. Like, it would bring up the conversation about how emotionally attached to this person are you still? Like, after, even though they're dead, and that's really sad, like, what's the context for wanting to go?
Ooh, that's kind of, okay, so I'll get back to this one. I'll give you more context in a second. That reminds me of a conversation I was having recently about how I feel like the asshole, because I mean, if I met a really great guy who was one, I might consider it, but I doubt it. I don't feel like I could date a widower.
Oh, interesting. But what if he killed his wife?
Oh, well, that's fine, because it means that there was no like attachment there. Like he was ready to cut her
That's
loose.
what I was wondering. Immediately, I was like, "How can we sweep that under the rug?" We're like, yeah. Oh, well, if he shot her, like, well, the bitch had it coming. Like,
yeah. Like, have you ever seen Chicago? Like, she had it coming.
Oh,
yeah, no,
gotcha.
because I was so like my ex, or not my ex, sorry, my boyfriend's ex, he was with for 12 years. There's still part of me that's like, wow, I don't know if I'll ever measure up to that. It'll take 12 years to see if I measure up to that, that amount.
Yeah.
But like, they broke up. Whereas he was like, if she died, he's like, it would be a different story. And I was thinking that, I was like, yeah, I don't, because that not only in real life, like even if they're not dead, you're already kind of like worried about like, do I measure up to them? Do they like me as much as them? Do I do more annoying things than them? Like you're always wondering like how you compare. That would be on like another level if it was a dead ex, because then that person did not choose to leave. That person died. And so there's always that like dangling, like the lack of closure, I think makes people a little nostalgic, and it starts to make them kind of have, I don't know what's the word, like the rose colored glasses, where over time you start to forget the little day-to-day shit that annoyed the crap out of you. You start to forget the moments where you did wish they were dead, or the moments where you were like, God, I wish I had my own space, or I don't know, just like, and then I'd be compared to this perfect person.
Yeah.
Because the flaws would go away over time. And I don't know. I'm curious if anybody in the chat has had that experience of dating a widow or dating somebody after they've lost somebody. And
I haven't had that experience for myself, but I will say I did know somebody, a girl that was in that situation. Her husband had a wife that died, and they didn't have any kids. Him and his widow didn't have any kids together, but they did. They had kids together and stuff. But I remember that was actually like a thing that sometimes happened, and that was a conversation they had one time, because she was like, I always feel like I can't stack up to her and his memory of her, and that really sucks. And I do think, we as human beings do tend to romanticize people when they've passed on. I mean, unless she was like a major terrible person and like died, and he was celebrating her death in the streets, yeah, I think that does happen. You tend to romanticize people, and you go like, oh, it's so sad that they're gone, and oh, the grief has now affected things. And one thing about human beings, one of our like biggest weaknesses is our memories are so fickle.
They're really, they shift and fade. Like I had that with my first boyfriend. For a couple years after we broke up, like he dumped me, I could only think of the good. And I was like, I'll never find somebody like him. Oh my gosh, I'll never. And granted, he was also my first love, so I didn't have anything to compare it to. But I was like, oh, the good times we had, like he'll remember. And then like suddenly, and then after like pissing me off enough times, because he like clung around me, like he broke up with me, but then he's kept himself in my life and moved across the country to follow me and like stay around me. And at one point it was just too much, and he did he kept doing stuff, and then suddenly I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then suddenly my memories were like, couldn't remember the good. All I could remember for years was, oh yeah, he was kind of lazy, or he was kind of this, or he was kind of an asshole. And like, it's interesting how my brain literally, the same relationship, it could filter the good and the bad. And then recently I was able to kind of find like it unlocked some of the good and the bad, and be able to be like, okay, like it was what it was. But I just think with death, I don't know, the farther away you get from it, I feel like the more and more that person would be like canonized in your mind.
Oh,
so
100%. Yeah.
Because I'm like, I would have no problem dating a single dad, no problem dating a divorcee, like especially at my age. That's what that's what most of the dating pool is. And a lot of people are like, I won't do it. I'm like, shit, I want a big family. So I'm like, you already got a head start. That's how I see it when a guy has kids. But I would, so some people would be more open to dating a widow, but I would actually be more open to dating a divorcee, single dad, something like that, but not,
ex-murderer. Yeah.
I literally at one point was like, maybe the guy for me was in prison and that's why it took so long, or something like that. I was like, maybe he's just working on a 12-year sentence and he's almost about to get out. Maybe he did something like kind of murdery, like maybe like a 2nd-degree manslaughter. Like he didn't think about it ahead of time. He just got really into the moment and like, hey, that means he's a passionate person. I don't want a passive guy. I want a guy who who's in touch with his feelings. Also, when you were saying earlier, you know, about the widow thing, and my brain came up with the phrase, "It's a Dateline divorce."
Oh, he had a Dateline divorce.
Yeah, he had a Dateline divorce where he's like, and which is always crazy to me. Like when I watch Dateline, they're like, "Oh, he wanted the money, or she wanted the insurance money, or what's the other biggest reason? Oh, kids, like custody of children," which I get. That's a really contentious thing, and you're like, "Well, if I've lost the kids, bye," you know. But I don't understand the ones where they're like, "It was just like there's one that was my friend's schoolmate's mom had a Dateline special about her because her husband, they were this like really Texas Christian couple, picture perfect in their community, and then he paid these like meth heads called the Hee Haw Gang. By the way, my sister has an episode on it on her podcast called Shockingly Wicked, so check it out. I'm on that episode too. Nice little plug there. But yeah, it's the Hee Haw Gang, and he hired them to kill her, but they didn't do the job right, so they like shot her, and like shot her, like it blinded her. I think it shot her eye out or something like that. So she lived, and for a while she was like, "Well, God wants me to forgive," so she wouldn't divorce him. But basically, instead of just getting a divorce, he's like, "Well, God doesn't like divorce." I'm like, "Oh, but he's a real big fan of murder."
Oh my God, yeah, that's awful.
Yeah. So it's like, those are the ones I don't get. So that's like the Dateline divorce where they're like, well, I don't want to get a divorce. Takes too much time. A little bit stressful. I got stuff to do. I've got plans for the weekend. Let's just kill her.
Yeah. Just kick her down the steps. Well, I mean, there's also, I mean, unfortunately, see, and you probably would know this too. There's also like religious types that also kind of feel that way. Cause I remember, you know, obviously in some places divorce is very, very, very frowned upon. Mm-hmm. And some people are like almost like, oh, well, if she wants to leave, then like I probably just have to kill her.
Like, yeah, like nobody, if I can't have her, nobody can, kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's like, or, you know, the other part of it is like, oh, if I want to get remarried, I can't because she's still walking around alive. Like, yeah, I don't know. I had a buddy of mine one time who met this girl that he really liked, and she had previously been married, and his parents were very, very religious, and they're like, you can't marry her, she's been married before, blah 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 blah. And he was like, well, I really want to marry her, and they're like, you can't do it, it's wrong, it's terrible. And I made a joke, and I was like, bro, you kicked me like $500, I'll go shoot that guy dead in the street or whatever. And he's like, don't do that, I'm really considering it. And I was like, wow.
You would do it for $600, you said, or 400?
500 is what I offered him at the time, but you know, it was like a friend's discount, you know, like, hey man.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, but like it was, you know, he was like, don't do that. I'd be really considering it at some point. The
hitman giving the friend discount. You're like,
yeah,
I'm a hitman, not a shit man.
Yeah, come on, man. I'm like, what? Of course,
I'll hook you up.
Hook you up. I mean, I do need some money because I want you to really be serious about this.
Yeah, you want like a little deposit for the murder, just to make sure that you're not like, are you fucking with me? Do you have a wire on?
Because if they're like, hey man, will you go kill this guy? And you're like, I'll do it for free. Then what if they change their mind? There's no real, you know. But if you like make them actually give you a chunk of change for it. Now they're like, I'm serious. I want this guy dead. You know
what, though? I feel like most of the time on these shows, it's always an undercover cop. So I actually wonder what the ratio of real hitmen are to undercover cops. Because it seems like most people, when they're like, I know a guy, that guy is usually a Fed.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I don't know.
Are there actual hitmen out there? Like, will the real hitmen please stand up?
Well, I mean, there was the one guy, the Ice Pick, I think his name was. What's his name? Actually, Michael Shannon played him in a movie before. And he was like really well known. It's funny, Canada's had a bunch of them. Holy shit.
What, hitmen?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's because you probably it's harder to own your own gun in Canada, so you have to outsource your murder.
I guess so. 14 hitmen from Canada, well-known hitmen from Canada.
Wait. Did you say 14 well-known hitmen? Like it's like a BuzzFeed list.
They have names and stuff like that. Russia has a couple. I mean, we all knew Russia did. Igor the Assassin. God, that would be terrifying.
Igor the Assassin sounds cartoony.
It does. Okay, in the United States, that's, oh my God. Okay, I'm going to show you this because this is really funny, and this is how it almost always is with terrible things in the world. You'd be like, oh, wow, let me look up a list of, like, mass murderers. And, so, like, they broke it down by country here. Australia, Brazil. So, like, there's, a couple. Canada right now has the most. You're like, wow, that's a lot.
Wait, these are hitmen murders?
These are all hitmen, these are hitmen or contract killers.
That's not actually that many. Like,
yeah, but these are the ones that are just known.
Okay.
Like, these are lists of known ones. But yeah. So
wait,
China has like 2.
Cecil Kirby?
Yeah.
That's the gayest hitman name I've ever heard. He's
Yves
like
Trudeau. It's like, wow. Yeah.
What?
Sergei Quesnel. You're like, wow.
Well, see, Sergey sounds like a hitman, but like Cecil the conqueror, like or Cecil the serial killer. Like, I don't really. He sounds like somebody who has like doilies in his house.
Like, oh, that's just Cecil. So like, this is the list, and you're like, okay, cool. England had 3. Russia had a couple. Mexico.
I'm surprised Mexico does not have. Mexico, I feel like should have the number 1. Well, maybe they just don't get caught.
Yeah, you would think so. Well, there's Russia. There's Igor the Assassin. That's still my favorite name so far. And then wait till you get to the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
USA number 1.
We're just like, hey, listen, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right.
Fucking crush you guys.
Yeah.
Murder the shit out of you.
Yeah, you're all gonna die. Yeah, I was like, wow, that's very United States of us. But yeah, there was one that, like, what's his name did a movie about, I don't remember, Michael Shannon played him. And I don't remember exactly what his name was, but yeah, that was like a whole big thing. Yeah, and then there was actually a contract killing. Oh my gosh, I think it was like a few years ago. Like, a guy was on the street, he was like coming out of a party or something with his buddies, and this chick just walked up to him and just whipped out a gun and just blew him away. Like, and they're like, yeah, we know. And they were like, yeah, that was like a hit because they know who she is. They've been trying to find her. Yeah. Yeah.
A lady hitman, that's kind of interesting. And especially like with a gun.
Woman.
I feel like I'm picturing like most lady hitmen would be like the ring full of poison that they pour into your tea, or like a vial that they like, just very Victorian ways of murder.
Like, oh yeah, so like poison lipstick. She's like,
yes,
you stud. Yeah.
Do you remember a fucking, was it Batman and Robin? Where Uma Thurman was Poison Ivy, and she like had this kiss that was like poison, and she would kiss people, and she kissed Robin at one point, and then she was surprised that he didn't die, and then he's like, and he peels off like the
rubber
like
lips.
Rubber lips.
Yeah, he even calls it that. He's like, rubber lips, and she's like, bitch. Yeah, she was so mad at him. Yeah, I remember that. It's so stupid, but it's so good. Yeah, that was like one of my, as a kid, I didn't realize how bad what I was watching was. But as I've gotten older, it's just gotten worse and worse. And now it's flipped to the point where now it's just funny.
I was going to say, I think it's the bell curve, or not bell curve. I don't know what it is. But like, basically, it's like there's like funny, really, really bad. And then it just goes so bad that it goes back to like funny again.
Oh, yeah. Like watching, like George Clooney do the like bat turn where he can't like turn his neck or whatever. Yeah. He's got like nipples on his costume.
Rubber nipples.
Like, and he's got like the bat credit card.
You've got to keep the nips safe, though. Like, I don't think that people don't understand that. Like, if you get your nip cut off in battle, you're going to be distracted by that. And Batman's like, I will not take any precautions.
Yep.
I got to guard Gotham.
They got to guard. Yeah. And also, how do we know that that's where his real nips are? They may be deflections,
Oh, they're decoy nips.
Yep, exactly. Like the Twister comes in, the villain, the Twister, and he's like, and he like goes into Batman. He grabs those fake nipples and he's just like, Batman's like,
Psych, and then headbutts him.
Rubber nipples, and pulls them off. And...
what if Batman just like had really weirdly placed nipples and he put them on in the normal spot on the suit to make himself feel better? Like, he's like, I'm a normal boy. I'm a normal bat.
Nipples. There's totally Thing that bothered me is like when Batgirl put on hers, she didn't have nipples.
Because that'd be obscene. Remember, it's misogyny. See the free the nip movement. Well, I will say it is weird that we like, if nipples are nipples, then who cares if it's like man nipples or woman nipples? Like suddenly a woman's nipples are like, or but a man's nipples are like a weird.
Because we like way over sexualized boobs here in like specifically America. I mean, we do kind of in other countries too, but like specifically America, apparently it's like really heavily like sexualized.
I mean, I get it. Boobs are awesome. But my thing was when the Free the Nipple movement was happening, and this is why I should have known that I wasn't a feminist, even at the time I thought I was, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm a woman. I like being able to work. I didn't know that it was like it meant more than that. Yeah, I was like, I like my nipples. But my thing was, I was like, how about put away the nips? I don't want to see anybody's nips. I don't want to see women's nips. I don't want to see men's nips. At the beach, I think everybody should be wearing a t-shirt. Like, I don't want to see, like, if you have more than an A cup, man or woman, I don't want to see your nipples.
Put them away.
Yeah.
I like how you're like a nipple elitist. You're like, no nipples. Like, you're the opposite. Like, no, cage the nipples.
Yeah, cage the nipples. Trap the nipples.
Yeah, trap the nips.
Trap the nips. Well, because I'm just, if you've got like a, I don't know, because I'm weird. I'm not really into guys who are like super cut, but like, I guess I'd allow them if you're flat chested. Maybe that's the rule. Flat chested women, you're basically like a small boy. We'll allow it. Flat chested men, you can do it too. But then it's equal. Nobody can complain. And I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if you were to cover up somebody's face and just look at their boobs, why is it that a man's boobs, who could be bigger than mine, can be flopping around on the beach like this?
Mm-hmm.
But then somebody like a woman's boobs who are like a B cup can't. I'm just saying, think about it. What is the actual difference?
Well, I guess let me ask you this. Have you ever like seen a guy and go, wow, that's a great set of tits?
No.
Have you ever looked at a girl and went, wow, she has really nice boobs?
You
like how I censored myself so I'm not misogynist?
Yeah, you said tits from the guy and then boobs.
You gotta objectify men. You can't objectify women.
Breasticles.
Yeah, like, wow, he's got a great set of tits on him, doesn't he?
Ooh, you know what that makes me think of? So this is another, it's not really an am I the asshole? It's more of like a, just what are your thoughts on it situation. So my dad was sharing this article. I think it was probably a CNN thing, so that kind of gives it away. But it was like an opinion piece about the Martha Stewart cover, because she was on what like Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition.
I haven't seen it yet, but yes.
I mean, she looks good. She's like, 81. Let's see. Yeah. Actually, you look that up. I'll explain the situation. Chop, chop.
Yeah.
Pull it up, field slave.
Damn it.
Would you be in the house or would you be in the field? Are you like on the fence, Mike?
So I made this joke one time on a stream, and somebody said that they thought I would be a slave, and I was like, no, I'm light-skinned enough. I'd probably be in the house as long as I cut my hair.
I mean, you'd be a slave either way, but
yeah, oh yeah. Like, there's no way I'm getting away with it with his face, but I think that I'm light-skinned enough. They'd be like, I'm comfortable with him touching my clothes. Yeah.
I'm trying to picture you pulling like an Eddie Murphy in that like SNL sketch where it was like White Like Me or whatever, where he basically dressed up as like a white man for a day and tried to go undercover. And you're like with this face and you're like trying to like contour your nose and like put on powder, and you have like a really bad or like a Dave Chappelle. There we go. There's another Dave Chappelle reference for you. And like have like a bad blonde wig, be like, why, hello, fellow slave owners.
I'm going in a totally different direction with this. Yeah, white face.
Yeah. Mike would be a trophy slave, like a trophy wife. That's set her vertical horizons.
Let me see if I can find,
what were we talking about? Martha Stewart, slaves?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Well, Martha Stewart and how good she looked on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, so like I'm aware, like in Hollywood, most people like, and look, if you have money, do it. Most people have some sort of laser treatments. They have Botox, fillers, whatever. So they often say, I've never had plastic surgery. And it's like, okay, good for you. But like, even if you have, like, I don't care, but just don't pretend that it's natural and make people feel like, man, I wish I could look like that. So for her, I believe, sure, she's never had plastic surgery, but she's 81. Maybe find that picture. She actually does look a little bit closer to her age, but there's like a couple other ones where you're like, she looks like she's 50.
Yeah. Well, like, real quick, I do think this is funny. So, like, there she is. But, like, this guy up here is my favorite because he looks fucking miserable. Like, look how unhappy. And they didn't even get, like, a hot, like,
they didn't. They got, like, the camera guy, the guy who carries the apple boxes.
Yeah, they're like, come on. Yeah, they're like, come on, Steve, get those horses off the beach. And he's like, oh, God. Yeah, and he's like, I'm doing this for Martha Stewart. So,
I mean, the thing is, though, I mean, technically, she's not the typical model, so they wanted to make it equal. So like the guy is just kind of like a guy, like he's like the guy who like fixes your plumbing or something.
Yeah, they're like, just go. See, the only thing here is like I don't like this pose because it looks like her leg broke.
Oh.
It looks like she fell on the beach and she broke her leg. She's like, oh my God. Yeah.
She broke her leg under the weight of that hat.
Yeah. She couldn't stand anymore. She just fell over. But like, I mean, she doesn't look bad. She doesn't look terrible in a big,
yeah, like she doesn't look like some of these celebrities where you're like, whoa, you're like 60 and you still have like it's like perfect face. Then you know that they've had something done. They've had a facelift. They've had whatever. And a lot of times celebrities can have facelifts, but they get like a thread lift. And technically that doesn't count as surgery. So they're able to kind of say that. And again, I don't care. I just don't like when they lie about it. So people, there was
that she doesn't care. She's like, I don't care. I'm
just trying to reiterate so I don't sound like a hypocrite and be like, because one day you're going to see me be like,
yeah, well, because that's the thing. Like, yeah, in like 20 years, Amanda would be like, I never said I didn't like face work.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah. Why don't you guys stop being hypocrites yourselves?
I don't know somebody's gonna clip this and say like she's being racist. Yeah. No, but like it would just be like
that's what it is. You're like trying to show off like what work looks like, and they're like she was trying to make fun of Chinese people.
Hey, you said it. I didn't. That was all you, man.
Yeah, that's true.
But I basically the whole article, so the article that my dad shared was about like this woman being like, yeah, good for Martha Stewart, but also this does not forward feminism or does not forward what was it? It was like female representation because we need to have all bodies represented and blah blah blah. And it's like, how about a woman be valued for her accomplishments and not just for like looking good and young? And I'm like, yeah, it is nice to like not just value people for their looks. I don't think it's a bad thing to value people and be like, oh, this person's attractive. But yes, be like, hey, she also built an empire. She also got street cred because she went to prison. She lived that hard knock life. Like,
and she smokes weed with Snoop Dogg, which
that's her biggest accomplishment is like her being besties with Snoop. I think that's they should be buried next to each other when they die. Just have like
well, and that's the thing. I want to be honest, like. Maybe they didn't, because this is the thing. I found out a lot of rappers are like very faithful to their wives and love their wives and stuff like that. But it would be kind of funny is if like Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg just smashed. Like, I don't know why I would find that very entertaining. Is like that like thing is like she has so much street cred. She was like, yo, I'm pulling that right now. And like,
wait. Like, yeah. Are you saying this would be like a pay-per-view event? Like you'd want to see it? How would you know that they did it?
No, I'm just saying it would just be funny if we knew that they actually did it. Like one day it slipped in like her memoirs that like her and Snoop were hanging out and they just smashed one time.
She's like, I saw his Snoop doggy dog, his Snoop lion.
Yeah,
roaring in his pants.
Yeah, I saw that Snoop Rottweiler come out to play. His Snoopy came out to play or something. I don't know why. I just think it would be really funny if they had smashed at some point.
I'm so like a Bridget Nielsen and Flava Flav situation where you're just like,
that was just weird though.
I don't know if I believe that they actually were together. I feel like it was one of those stage things. Like they went to their separate houses at night and then just on camera they were like, because I could not. Flava Flav to me, like I would, I'd kick him like a bug. I'd be like, ah. If he was like humping at me, I'd be like, ah.
Yeah, and he's like walking around with that clock because he has it on. He has it on in bed too. It's like, yo, baby, let's do it, and whatever. And the clock's like swinging around. You're like, no, yeah.
Could you imagine getting knocked out by that clock as he's like thrusting, and the clock's just like,
yeah. You gotta like dodge it and stuff. Yeah. I mean, he had like 2 whole seasons of the show where like the women were trying to date him and stuff. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and was it Pumpkin? Did she shit on the staircase or something?
Something like that. It was bad. And then there was like the one chick that finally won. I think she won the first season. And then she apparently fucked up their whole relationship because she was crazy. And then she like showed up in the second season, was like, I'm competing again, bitches. And they're like, no, we hate you. And she's like, yeah.
Wait, somebody who would go on a reality TV show to vie for the heart of a very creepy looking rapper is crazy.
Yeah, I know.
That doesn't sound realistic. I don't buy it.
See, I think we watched the same show because that was like, I don't remember the name of the house, but that was on like VH1. They put like all the celebrities in the house, and there was like Bridget Nielsen and Flava Flav.
Yes.
And then
the
they had
Surreal Life. Was that what it was?
It must be the Surreal Life, yeah. And then they had, I think that was the same show season that they had Vern Troyer, and he got like, drunk and he peed like off the side of his like walker or like his like little scooter that he had. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was that.
Oh my God, it was Flava Flav, Christopher Knight, Vanilla Ice, Tammy Faye Mesner or Tammy Faye Baker, Adrian Curry, who was like America's Next Top Model season 1, Bridget Nielsen, and I don't know who Trishelle Canatella is, but Tracy Bingham.
That name sounds super familiar too. I remember that years ago. I remember watching it because I remember Adrienne. I actually like follow Adrienne Curry on Twitter now because she got like major red pilled and like left Hollywood and stuff.
Who?
Adrienne Curry.
Really?
Oh yeah, she got like super red pilled and was like, "Oh yeah, this whole industry's fucked," or whatever. She actually just did a whole thing. She posted a thing on Instagram defending Tyra Banks because apparently Tyra Banks they're trying to cancel her for like being mean, and she's like, "It's modeling. Everyone's mean because we're all just trying to get ahead in the world." And this like chick carved through like a mountain basically to get to the top of it, and that's just what happens in this industry. She kind of like defended her, and I thought that was really cool. Oh yeah, Tila Tequila. Yep, I remember the one with Tila
God,
Tequila.
I feel like she looks weird now. Hold on.
I think she does. I think that you're correct. While you're looking that up, by the way, just speaking of inclusion and body types and all that stuff, have you seen this Dove commercial?
Oh no.
All right, here we go. I'm going to show this to you while you're pulling up your other stuff here. I know some of us have seen this. Is she a super Christian now? That's right. She did become like a super Christian. Then she started like shaming people and stuff.
Wait, Tila Tequila or Adrienne Curry?
Yeah. No, Tila Tequila. Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Dove was like, hey, you know what we don't like? Sexism in gaming. And they released this ad today. We shouldn't get copyright. This is an actual ad, so.
So wait, this is a commercial?
Yeah, this is a commercial for Dove soap.
Oh, okay. Oh. Okay, relatable though. That's how it feels every time I take off my skinny jeans. I'm like, ugh.
Remember, this is for soap.
Is she gonna shower before she goes in? Is that what? What does this have to do with soap? Unreal Engine and Women in Games to change this. I would not. How are they gonna do her like that? I mean, I guess she agreed to it, but like. I'm just saying, like, why would you? Don't put me on there looking like Homer Simpson with like my belly out, being like.
Well, that's the thing. I was like,
King of the Hill.
When they did the final pose, I was like, the issue isn't even the lady; it's what she's wearing. Because she does, she looks like that looks like a white trash outfit. Like that looks like an outfit you would see in like a Reno 911 sketch.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Where she gets arrested, for like shooting her husband.
Yeah. That's exactly what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because like the thing is like, there's ways to dress for every body type, and I'm like, I'm not the weight I want to be. Like I fucking ate. So my boyfriend ordered Instacart, and he knows that I really like these Mott's fruit snacks, and I can't have them in the house because I'm like, I will eat them all. And he's like, you're fine. I was like, no,
so I'm gonna just because I can already hear that count. Like what you said was, I'll eat them all, and he goes, "Oh, she'll
eat a lot of them, but
she'll eat a lot of them. I get it. It's fine." Okay, so go ahead, please continue.
So we didn't realize that it was the family size pack Because normally I will only allow myself to get the 10 pack. Because I'm like, well, at least if I smash 10 of them, that's like a day's worth of calories, but it's not like the worst thing.
Yeah.
When it showed up, it was the 40 pack. And it is like almost gone.
And now
I have a problem.
Now he's like looking at you like, oh, you meant you'll eat them all. And you're like, do you see what you've done?
Yeah.
Look at it. Like,
look me in the eyes. I've become like this animal perched on the kitchen counter, just like
2 a.m. Yeah. You just hears the bags crinkling, and you're in the corner, just like eating them.
Like there's a couple things that do that to me that like trigger my like my binge thing. Because like there's some things I could have just one of, and I'm like, that's fine. But those, for some reason, I'm a weirdo. I like white chocolate stuff, and most people are like, white chocolate's dumb.
I actually like white chocolate a lot. So.
White chocolate is like what? Milk and sugar? Like what's there not to like? Like, it's not cocoa, but it's like whatever. Fuck off. So the white chocolate Reese's are like my thing, like white chocolate Reese's cups. I will crush a whole bag of those. Okay. And I'll feel sick, but I will do it. And I need to not do that.
Your body's like, don't do this, you'll get sick.
And I'm like,
but eat that fucking bag. Yeah.
My brain's like, eat it. My body's like, please, 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 no.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah. Anyway, why did I start saying all that? Oh, just to say that like I'm not like body shaming, because I know how hard it is to fucking lose weight. Like it's not just like, oh, work out more and like whatever, because like I do work out a lot, but I also, my metabolism sucks and I am too sedentary still, even when I work out. Like I need to be somebody who's like working on my feet. Like I need to get a job as like a waiter or something again, because like when you're walking on your feet all day, you burn those like a lot more calories. Anyway, all that to say, I'm not trying to be like, oh, haha, she's fat. It's more like dress for her body type. Like there's a way to exist in a fat body and not be like, look at me, world, witness me, and like what they were doing in Mad Max, spraying the stuff on their mouth.
No, I agree with you. It's almost that whole thing of like reverse shame. They're like, oh, you can't shame me for what I look like. So like they try to go like almost like the opposite. So they're like, oh, I'll wear something that's ill-formed and ill-fitting on me to be like, I'm not ashamed of my body.
To almost like dare you to be attracted to them, or like, I dare you now, try to be attracted to this. It's like, why are you making this harder? Yeah.
And like, I tweeted about it because I can't help myself. One of the things I did say was like, I don't need to see an overweight, light-skinned guy with an afro to enjoy the games I play. Because I don't play video games unless I'm playing The Sims and I want to make myself. Like, I'm not playing video games going, hey, how can I make myself look as realistic as possible or as accurate as possible? I'm like, I want to play a video game, and it's like, hey, your character's like a superhero that swings like a giant sword and fights, aliens that come out of a, giant asshole or something. You're like, oh, I want to play that game. And like, I don't know, I just never, I'm not looking for realism, but to an extent, you don't like look at a superhero and go, oh, you have superpowers, but you're like overweight. So obviously I can relate to that.
So I too could jump off a building and survive.
Yeah. Because I even make fun of it like in The Incredibles. He's like, hey, I'm old and I stopped working out and I've gained weight. And so my back doesn't work like it used to. And yeah, I'm still fucking strong, but like nobody wants to see a flabby superhero do their thing. You kind of want them to be jacked and big and muscular because that's kind of the concept.
I don't know. I'd actually like to see a superhero that's like like that. To me, that would make me feel seen. To see a superhero who's like not so fast, and then he's like throws a couple punches. He's like, it's a little harder than it used to be. 1 second.
Holy shit. Well, I mean, like they do that in The Incredibles when he's in the jungle. He's like running through the jungle, and he like stops, and he's like, and then he like keeps going or whatever. But I just think it's interesting that the attitude is almost push it the opposite way. But like, I don't know many women in general that could pull that outfit off and go like, yeah, you look great in that. Or even that video game character, like her costume, like is just like a crappy like bodysuit with like pieces of armor stuck to it now. I'm like, she couldn't find cool armor that fit her that like made her look cool but she was still heavy. They're like, no, she can't fit in any armor because she's fat.
Yeah,
So,
they
like,
could have made her be like Brianna of Tarth, I guess it wasn't fat, but she was thicker, and so it's like
yeah.
they could have put her in something like that, like more like sturdy armor or something like I it's funny because I watch a lot of like content about body stuff because it is something that's like relevant to me because it's something I've struggled with for a long time too. And like
Yeah.
I because I'm really strong, but it takes a lot for me to like lose weight. So I can put on muscle or fat really. I'm a classic endomorph. And so it's like
Yeah.
I can crush you in the gym, but then also crush you just literally just sitting on you. I shouldn't say that. That's probably something people want to pay for.
You heard
But
it here. I didn't say it.
I see a lot of people saying like it's fat phobic to want to lose weight to look good. But like honestly, if I wasn't in an industry where I had to be on camera or look a certain way, or I didn't want to wear clothes that were cute, I probably wouldn't care being a little chubby. Like
Yeah.
it's literally for me, it's an aesthetic thing, but it's also it is also like a functional thing. Like there are things that I could do a lot better. Like I used to play sports. I used to be able to play hockey. I can't do that now because I have knee problems. So like the more weight you lose, the less pain you have in your knee. Like there are some functional issues, but my main one is because I want to look cute. Like I want to wear these cute little outfits and these little jumpsuits and not have like a pooch. Yeah. And it's weird that that's considered like a bad reason to want to lose weight.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because if it's one thing you go like, hey, what about the people that can't lose weight, that really struggle with that? And it's like most of those people have come to terms with where they are in their life, and even if they can't lose the weight or look like they want to, they've worked enough to know that they're in a healthy position. That's one thing. Like there are women with different body types and men with different body types, but there are people that are in good shape that are bigger people. I mean, like there are, athletes. The NFL is an example. I told somebody that one time my kid went like, why are they all fat? And I'm like, listen, buddy, I'm just going to explain something to you. Those guys are not fat like you think fat looks. Like they're not fat like dad. Like they're fat like those guys are like built to be big. Those are like some of the fastest and strongest human beings on the planet. Like you don't want to fuck with those guys because they'll fuck you up. Or like sumo wrestlers, they're designed to be big. That's their job, is to be massive. And those guys are like pure muscle. I would never want to fight a sumo wrestler. Like they would fuck you up. Like your day would go very badly fighting a sumo wrestler. Like you could be an MMA fighter and be like, yeah, I fight people all the time and punch people with my fists. And you hit that sumo wrestler and you find out that all that fat is muscle and you get fucked up, But I'll just say, I say that to say like, but then there's also like people that are like, I just don't really want to put in the work and I don't like the shame that I'm getting because I like to eat. And it's like, if you like to eat, that's fine. And if you want to wear a bikini, that's also fine. But realize the goal is not to make every body type go like, cool, yeah, everybody likes your body. It's you wear what you want to wear and dress how you want to dress, but don't look at other people and get mad at them because they have a preference. Because that's how human, it's literally human nature. It's not about human, like, unless if you're making fun of somebody in public or something like that, that's one thing. But like, it's human nature to look at somebody and go, I don't think their body type is healthy. And you're not consciously thinking it. It's like an automatic response. It's like, like,
that's an interesting debate that I was having a lot, like when I was doing like online dating and stuff. Like people are always, I'm curious what camp you're in. Are you in the camp that what you're attracted to can change if you like kind of try to think differently about it or force yourself? Or are you like it's innate, or is it kind of a little bit of like it can be shaped to a point, but there's kind of just a built-in like it is what it is?
I think it's a mix of both. I think it's nature and nurture. I think you can, because we know that like genetically, so this is a weird thing. I remember reading about this. Apparently like some of like the things that you're into, like I think kinks can be genetic. Like, so sometimes like what.
Wait, has there been a study done on this? They're like whipping people and looking at how their mitochondria reacts in a like a petri dish. The mitochondria is like.
Fetishes tend to be permanent, and then this one group proposed that body-related fetishes may be genetic, while object-related fetishes may be more related to early life events.
What does that mean, body fetishes? Like being touched in a certain place?
No, I think it maybe means like people that are like attracted to feet or breasts or different things like that. Maybe genetic. So like
how would they know that? Like was like they're like, well, Grandpa was real into sucking toes, so
that's a real good question. I don't know exactly, but I remember reading that was a thing, that certain like kinks and fetishes and stuff like that can be genetic or passed down. And like that was like a thing that they've tried to do like research on. But I don't know. The idea is like, yeah, I think there's some natural things that you're like you could be attracted to. I mean, there's a reason why like feet are like the number one fetish in the world. There's obviously some kind of like scientific tie between like how a person's feet looks and whether or not they're attractive.
What is so it's interesting what we define a fetish and what's normal, because like you wouldn't say, oh, if I like butts that's a fetish, or boobs that's a fetish, because that's considered normal. So like is it just that a fetish taboo,
is but there's like hundreds of millions of people that are into it.
Yeah, so like at what point does it graduate to becoming normal?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I don't know, but I know that's a thing, like a fetish. Wow. Damn it. But like, so I think that there's that part of it, but then like, yeah, I do think that like something like, oh, I like to be whipped, or I like pain or things like that. I don't think that that's genetic, and I don't think that's inherently built in. I think that's something that you probably learn at some point in your life. That's just my thought, anyways.
That's kind of that makes sense.
Because nature would naturally, we don't like being in pain. Human beings do not like pain. We're like, pain, run away. But like, then some people are like, pain, keep going.
But nature also was like, hey, when a human's in pain, let's have endorphins be released. So
that's true. Yeah.
That's why people are into it. Like, because it's like, it's that feeling of like, oh, that hurts. Oh, but it also feels good. Like, it's I don't know. I like girls with big ears. And then I like twains.
I like trains.
or is he like, I like running trains? Like the girl at that was so funny. We talked about that once. I think it was the police station girl, like the one who like fucked like 6 of her coworkers. Yeah. And somebody changed on Google Maps. They changed the name of the police station to like the so-and-so, whatever the town was, the Cleveland train station.
I'd be so pissed if I worked at that office. Oh, man. But like, yeah, I mean, I just think that I think it's a blend. I think it's both. But there is a reality to the fact that there is I think, especially younger, there is more of a drive for, like a natural drive for, I just need to like impregnate something, and I need to impregnate something that is like attractive to me, something that I think is like attractive to me, that draws me in. And so then there can be like a fixation on a body part or an idea or something. But then, I think as we get older, that stuff becomes less important, and you start to find attraction in like people's personalities and people's like attitudes and things like that, because now you're mature enough to go, hey, listen, I don't got time to be like humping everything that moves. Like, I need to find something that like I can hump and be happy with, but like also chill with for a little bit too, hump and chill. Yeah, like let's hump and chill, not like just keep humping, okay? Like, yeah,
I would agree with that. I think also for me over time, I don't know though, because like personality definitely became more important. But then again, even when I was in my 20s, if a guy was a complete asshole, it didn't matter how hot he was. Like you might be more attracted to them in the beginning. You're like, oh, he's hot, and then you're like, oh, I can't have a conversation with this person, or like,
yeah.
But I do think, I'm trying to think, has my attraction changed? I think what I'm attracted to has changed. Like in my 20s, I didn't realize that I was into more like, I don't want to say, I would say like more conservative guys, but I don't mean like Bible thumping conservative. I guess I just mean more like guys who are like, I like guns and man stuff, and I don't know, kind of want a semi-traditional life. Like obviously I don't want a fully traditional situation, because I'm like, I wouldn't be able to have a YouTube channel and make crude jokes on the internet and pretend to be topless. But like, something where it's like more I don't know, in my 20s I was like, I think I want a feminist, because in my mind a feminist meant a guy who's like, hey, I believe that what you think matters, and like you're an equal to me.
What it means is a beta soy cock. Yeah.
Well, like now it's like if on apps, when I see a guy that's like, like puts his pronouns in there, or is like, oh, like, I mean, I'm not on the apps anymore, but when I was on the apps, I was like left. Like I was just like, nope. If they're like, if you put it in your profile that you're like, if you don't believe in institutionalized oppression of marginalized bodies of systems and structures, swipe left. I was like, you got it.
Yeah.
Like I just,
all right, buddy. Yep. 100%. Yeah.
Because the thing is, I don't believe in oppressing people. I think it's shitty, but also I'm like, the fact that that's like the first, you have so much real estate in your profile. Yeah. And like, in mine, I said I was 3 dogs in a trench coat. Like,
yeah. Well, the reality is, like, I mean, nobody really likes oppressing people. Nobody really likes oppression. Like, just, it's like the natural human state of things is that everybody is generally decent. Not great, because we're also animalistic and we're opportunistic people, but like the whole point of society is to go, like, there are people that live their lives in a way and operate in a way that are like, well, it's like the sheepdog and wolves conversation. I think people get way too hung up in, like, I'm a sheepdog or whatever, and I'm like, well, you also don't have to be. It's okay. But like,
What
the
is
attitude
that?
is,
What is no wait, is this what is this conversation?
well, there's a whole conversation, like, about, like, in society, most people are trained and live their lives as, like, as sheep, and the
Okay.
conversation about sheep isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just that, like, if you're in a position where something happens, like something bad happens in the middle of, like, a public sphere, most people will just stop and watch or shut down, and they'll be like, oh my god. And then you have, like, a few people, a handful of people that will respond to that situation. So let's say, like, you're in a train station and some guy pulls a knife and stabs another guy. Like, there are, like, 90% of the people in that room won't do anything. They'll stop and look in shock or fear, or they'll run away. And then you'll have, like, 10% of those people, 5% of those people would be somebody that would step in and try to stop the guy from stabbing somebody else, or try to, like, intervene in some way because they can't sit there and watch this happen. And then, like, the other 5 are the ones that secretly really enjoyed watching the whole thing go down, and they kind of liked watching the guy bleed to death. That's how society works. We have extremes. That's why we have serial killers in this country. But the thing is, we glorify serial killers and forget that, like, we also have a lot of soldiers, and a lot of soldiers that have done a lot of crazy, harrowing things. We have firefighters that run into burning buildings without hesitation. And you can't necessarily train that in people. They have to be willing to do it on their own. Or you have, you know, like, I don't particularly like all police officers, but there are police officers that I've known and that other people have known that have gone above and beyond the call of duty to help other people. Like, there's a video I saw the other day of a guy where this guy's walking across the street and this car was speeding down the road and didn't see him, and this cop car saw it and pulled out in front of the other car to take the hit. So, like, he got T-boned to stop this guy from getting hit by this car. That's a you can't train that in somebody. You can't make somebody willingly put themselves in harm's way for somebody else. Which is why, like, for people that aren't, you know, for our people that aren't religious, but it's a concept, the religious concept. Jesus said, like, there's no greater love that somebody has that to lay their lives down for their friends, for their brothers and, like, their friends or whatever. Like, basically, like, you really love humanity when you're willing to step in front of something to protect somebody from harm or whatever. That's a really big deal. So that's the kind of the concept in general in life, is that, you know, there are people that are on both sides of the extremes. People that will protect you tooth and nail no matter what in any situation that you're given, that will help you when you need it the most. And there are people that will capitalize and take advantage of or cause those harms to you. The guy that's pulling the knife on his buddy in the train station is one of those people that, like, hey, you know, I may have thoughts about stabbing people. I don't go around stabbing people. Some people have thoughts about stabbing people.
That's because you lack commitment, Mike.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
You lack follow through.
Yeah, they didn't pay me the $500, so I'm not doing it. Yeah. But, like, so there's there's a blend of that. And I think all society functions like that too. The role of society is to, like, shame people that have negative extreme behaviors. And a lot of times we kind of fight against shame in our society and want to almost do away with it like it's a bad thing. And it's like, shame is only a bad thing when you are using it to harm, like, small groups of people or, like, whatever. So, like, that's what I mean by when I say, like, nobody likes to oppress people. Like, nobody wants to, like, round up a bunch of people and, like, put them in internment camps. Only very few amount of people do that. And it's just when those people gain power or gain enough influence over sheep that they start to notice those people and what they're actually like. And that's when you have examples of, like, people like Hitler and how awful he was as a person. You know, that's an extreme. That's not how humanity naturally is, or else everybody would be like that all the time.
Right.
Yeah. So,
also, the shame thing just made me... Sorry, I've been wanting to share this one for a while, but it's a little bit on a past topic. But when you're saying shame, it made me think of, like, awkward segue. Why not?
Perfect timing. Just ram silent duck it in there.
Yeah, just like. But just this is back to the officer who banged her whole not train station, banged the whole police force.
It was a train station.
Yeah, it's a train station now. But could you imagine being an officer there who didn't fuck her, but your wife every day is like, you fucked her, didn't you? She fucked the entire force. And I'm imagining like, or just like a guy who's just like, why didn't she fuck me?
Yeah,
She fucked everybody else. She
Like,
fucked the
damn.
janitor.
Yeah, I even liked her. Like,
Yeah, yeah. He's like, I actually thought she was cute with her little mouse face situation.
yeah, and a little like, who'd you like wear the little utility belt? And I always complimented her. Yeah, and she's like, yeah, I smashed everybody else in there, but yeah, yeah,
Even she was like, mm-mm.
yeah. And she's like
Ass.
packing her box to leave, and you're just like, what the fuck? And she's like kept going. Yeah,
She pepper sprays you,
yeah.
hits you with her
Like, don't
police
be a
baton.
Don't be a pervert. Yeah, that's actually that's really funny. God damn it. Yeah. Don't, if you're here and you haven't subscribed, just subscribe. And if you're watching this and you haven't liked the video, like it, please. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
No,
do it.
help me. Help me. I'm naked.
There you go. I'm not gonna say that.
I was thinking it would be really funny if you took your
Help
shirt
me,
off.
I'm naked. Yeah.
Take your shirt off, Mike.
I'm not gonna take my shirt off.
Take
No.
your shirt off. It'd be
No.
hilarious.
That's a line we can't cross in the stream, because then where do we go from there? I have to keep them wanting more.
So this is like a season finale kind of move where it's
Yeah,
like, all right,
like-
last episode of the podcast.
Yeah,
Woo!
we're gonna like reboot the podcast with a new thing. I'll just take my shirt off for that. Also, yes, this is also very true.
Is it so for guys? Is it pretty instant?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
literally the moment you come, you're like, oh, what have I done?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like what a really good example would be of that. It's very akin to like that really strong curiosity you may have to like touch something because you don't know what it's like, and then you find out it's like super hot. Like, I don't know, that kind of a thing. Like, imagine the draw to like do something really strongly, and then the moment you do it, it's you instantly like come to realization why it was a bad idea. That's what post-nut clarity is like. It's why what was it, the way I had I did a class one time, or I was in a class one time, this guy was teaching us about like relationships, and he said that guys are like this, like they're like a roller coaster. They go up and then they drop straight down. They're done. And then women are more like this, and they're like a hill. They go gradually up and down. And he's like, and at some point, the healthy relationship is when you guys meet together. So like, the reality is like most guys, when they get done, they just want to like either go to sleep or go eat a sandwich. Like, and they would like to just walk, like yeah, you could just like, cool, I'm done, bye. You just walk out the room. Like, you just get up and walk away. And then you're like, oh wow, that's like super rude. So you go like, no, I'll stick around, because like I'm a good person. I'm gonna show like love and affection for you beyond my physical desire for you. But my physical desire for you is now gone. My body has gotten what it wants. It's finished itself, and now it just wants to go off and do something else. Yep. Yeah, it's awful.
I'm thinking.
I wish there was a way to explain it, but there's really nothing.
Well, because women get it sometimes, but it's usually like days later, or even like weeks or months later. I'll have like a moment where I'm like, "Ugh, I can't believe I like slept with that person."
So imagine that feeling, but instantly. So like you're like super horned up, or whatever. I've never done this, fortunately, but I have friends that have done it. Okay, yeah, I'll share this. This is a terrible story to share.
Do it.
All right. So I had a buddy one time, and he was going through. I'm so sorry. I hope he never watches this. He was going through a divorce, and his ex-wife's brother was also going through a divorce, and him and his ex-wife's brother's.
You're thinking really hard. Like you're trying to mask
mess
something.
this up. Yeah. Well, okay. Like, so yeah, like, you know, my buddy and then his ex-wife's brother's ex-wife or whatever. At the time they were still together, they hung out.
Wait, okay. Go back.
So
let's call him Sven, your buddy.
Okay. So Sven is divorcing his wife. Okay.
Olga.
Olga, okay? And then Olga has a brother, and he is also getting divorced.
Okay.
And Olga's brother, the woman he's divorcing, and my buddy Sven hooked up. They like started talking and they hooked up together. And I remember because I was over the day that she showed up and I was like, I'm going home. And he's like, what? Why are you going home? And I was like,
I don't want any part of this shit.
Yeah, I just looked at him. I was like, you know why? Like, I don't want to be here. So like I left. And yeah, they hooked up and afterwards, and then he told me about this later. He was like, afterwards, he was like, yeah, so like, you know, we should hang out again or something. And he was like, listen, this is like a one-time deal. I don't really want to talk to you anymore or like hang out with you anymore. And she was like, wow, that's really awful and that really sucks. And he's like, I mean, it is what it is. That's post-nut clarity. That's how bad it is. Because the immediate moment after he got what he wanted, he was like, I'm done. Yeah.
That's
yeah. It's bad.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say okay, so Old Bay shared this. This is a terrible but almost kind of good example. The best way to explain it is watching the nastiest, grossest porn, especially before good internet, and you jerk it, and then the minute you come, you're disgusted with yourself, and it is it is like instant. You're like, why did I do this to myself? Like, I'm a terrible person. You're like, oh my god, I can't believe I did that. I'd never do that again. And like, you're telling yourself, this will never happen again. I'll never make a stupid decision like that again. And then the moment you get horny again, your body's like, you remember that one time? I know you thought it was bad, but it wasn't that bad, right? And you're like, no, it wasn't that bad. I mean, maybe we could, I don't know, maybe do it again or whatever. And you're like, no, that was a bad decision. Yeah. It's like the second brain thing. Yeah.
You're like, the moment you finish, you're like, I'm going to a monastery tomorrow. I'm signing up. I'm enlisting.
Yeah.
Wait, good porn.
Yeah. You're like, watch it. Like, why did I do this to myself? Like, yeah, it's like if every man lived in post-nut clarity, we would like accomplish anything we wanted.
What if there's like a pill you can get for that like
There
bottles
might be.
that are like captures the post-nut like essence and just like take it before you need to work
Or something, because that's the thing. If you were like a eunuch or something, apparently like that makes you can get really depressed and stuff like that, and obviously not grow facial hair because we talked about that. But like, yeah, it's apparently, I don't know, it's a really weird thing. There's like this, it's like there's so much clarity about the world and the way life works. It's almost like having a radio up really loud when you're driving. You got to turn it down to like figure out where you're going. That's what it's kind of like. Yeah.
Wait, so you're saying like it's like you reach enlightenment? Like, it's not just like, oh, I have clarity about this situation or this person that I'm boning.
No,
You're
it's like enlightened. Yeah, everything is clear for a moment. You're like, oh my god, what am I doing? Like, I could do so many good things with my life. Like, I could make so many good decisions, and it's usually only about 30 seconds, and it goes away. So it's not long enough to really get anything accomplished.
in that moment, you're like, I could write the next great American novel. I could cure cancer. Oh, I'm back to
like, it's usually enough to get your clothes on and run out of the room when you've made a terrible decision.
Screaming,
and then your body's
crying.
like, your body's like, call her up again, and you're like, no, it's a terrible decision. So, yep.
Oh, yay. Joe C818 Pure Blood says, first time I'm catching the stream. I'm hooked and subscribed. Great show, y'all. Cheers. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Oops, I'm hitting things. I'm hitting buttons again.
I just let her do this. I don't hit anything to do this, but yeah, it is like eating the forbidden fruit. Yeah, that's a good way to do it too. It's hard to explain. It's awful though. I would say that it's awful because it is like such a beautiful thing, and then it just goes away so fast. You think of the world without wanting. You're like, I don't want to have sex with anything right now. Wow, the world is my oyster.
Maybe
and then
that's...
like 30 seconds later, you're like, I want to have sex with the oyster.
Like... You're like, it'd be real slippery and smooth.
You're like, oh my god, I bet that feels great, doesn't it? You're like, damn it, it's gone.
Old Bay says you could do all those things, but you're too tired to do anything. I think that's like the built-in mechanism that like nature put in. That's like, we don't need a bunch of people going around curing cancer. We need to, or like, I don't know, God or whoever was like, they need struggle to develop as people. And if men just fixed all the world's problems in their post-nut clarity state, we wouldn't have any problems. So
yeah, so why don't we just like make them sleepy afterwards?
yeah.
Oh god, that was great. I was gonna take a nap now. Oh jeez. Yeah, it's weird. That's also the weird. The sleepiness. It's like the most tired you've ever felt, and yeah, it's very, very, very overwhelming. It's kind of awful. Man is learning so much today.
I am. This is like the time where I learned about when you guys pee or something like how you aim and whatnot.
We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, no. Roland New says Varys was a eunuch in Game of Thrones and was the smartest character for a while until the writing sucked. So really, he just lived in a state of post-nut clarity, like pre-nut clarity, no nut clarity.
Well, here's the thing, though. Varys, as smart as he was, admitted he had no drive whatsoever for the throne. He had no ambition to take the crown or to put himself in a political position of any power because he didn't have that drive. He just was good at what he was good at, and that's what he stuck with. So
that's kind of leads into Shield Wall's comment. On the flip side, the amount of effort men will put into getting that pussy is also amazing. Build buildings, write poetry, art, crazy stuff to impress the chicks.
That's very true.
Oh, Mike's getting in trouble. I was trying to think of what he's saying.
She was like, "Are you using the good water for just drinking?" And I was like, "Oh, because we have to use this for my child for food."
Oh, so you get the dog water.
Yeah, I get the tap water. It's like, are you drinking the good water? Or are you drinking the tap water? I'm like, I just use this jug to fill up with tap water. And she's like, oh, okay. You're not drinking the good. But yes, that is very true. Like, yeah, men will do. There's actually like a theory that that's what's going on. Is men are just trying to impress women all the time, so they can have sex with them. That's like the drive that men are all having. But I mean, there are a lot of stories throughout history of men that have made terribly stupid decisions because a woman was like, "I'll give it to you if you just kill that guy," and he's like, "I'll start a war." Yeah, and I'll burn this fucking country to the ground. She's like, all right.
I am curious, and y'all don't have to answer this if it's too personal. Has anyone ever had pussy that good that it was worth it? Where you're like, yeah, I would have killed that guy. Or like, like the crazy things that men have done to get laid. Have you ever had sex that was good enough that you're like, worth it? Like as they're loading you into the cop car with the handcuffs on, you're like, I'd do it again.
Once again, post-nut clarity is a hell of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
During, yes, it was all worth it. It's always worth it. During, it's always worth it. Like, yeah, there's just like no manner of no difficulty I have faced. Everything I have done up to this point, completely and utterly worth it for what I'm about to experience. And then afterwards, you're like, fuck, was it worth all of that fucking effort? Probably not. Like, what did I do to myself? And then about 30 seconds after that, you've forgotten, and you're willing to go out and do it again because she's like, hey. But, like, I don't know. That's the thing. The post-nut clarity is the difficult thing. Go ahead.
Is that kind of what, like, Old Bay says, why do you think guys are with crazy ladies? So is that basically what it is? Is like post-nut clarity kicks in for a second, but not long enough for you to get out of the relationship, and then you're like, oh, but it was so good.
Yes, 100%. And if you're one of those people that fall asleep, you never get a chance to say anything because you're like, you have the moment you're like, oh God, what am I doing? And you're like looking in her eyes and you see all the crazy in her eyes. And
she's like sucking you in. She's like, yes.
She's like, just lay down. And you're like, God damn, I'm in trouble. And you pass out and you wake up and you don't remember. Yep.
Jesus. My history teacher knew a kid in high school who shot and killed his crush's abusive father to impress her.
Yep. Yeah, man.
Solid State Citizen says, we built civilization just because we wanted to have sex with women indoors. And Shield Wall said, I knew a guy that caught the clap from a chick. The pussy was so good he hit it again before he went to the doctor to get cured. I mean, you might as well if you're like, I'm already infected. I can't get more infected.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, it's a mess, man. It's a terrible, terrible state of affairs. Yep.
I mean, I guess it's a good thing that men and women are built different, because if everybody was out there just trying to get laid, it would be like Mad Max out there. People would just be like humping like fence posts and just
just getting off to whatever they can. Well, like, okay, this is the thing I have a question about because I've always wondered about this. Um, like, I mean, guys, some guys, not every guy. I've known guys like this that they'll just hump anything. Like the second they get aroused, they're just like animals. They act like they don't have any fucking sense in the world. But like I've heard like about girls that like hump teddy bears and stuff like that, and like stuffed animals and like stuff like that. And that's what I always wonder. I'm like, okay, because it never seems like women have that same kind of drive. So it's always weird when you hear stories about like somebody doing like, yeah, I like grinding my teddy bears to get off and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I was horny all the time. Like women can be horny. It's just that I don't know. I don't think I would do crazy stuff to get laid though. Like
Gotcha.
So like when I'm in a relationship or I have somebody like I tend to have a higher drive than the guy does. But I'm also not going to like walk into traffic to try and get it.
Yeah, but yeah, a guy will definitely walk into traffic to get some.
He's like, "Oh, boobies." And just like going across the freeway.
I used to walk 1.5 miles to go hang out with a girl when I was in high school just so I could get some.
Was this the thing where you said you lost a ton of weight that summer just because you were walking?
I was in football and working out all the time, and then I dropped like another like 20 pounds because every day after I got out of football and I went home. See, bear in mind, I hated the running. I didn't like doing it in football. We were the linemen, so we did what was called yogging, which was basically we just walked and just like did this with our arms. And then when people got mad at us, we're like, we could just let the guy across from us hit you. Like we could.
Yogging.
Like, yeah, yogging. Yep. It was yeah, our coach fucking hated it. He would get he's like, fucking move. And we're like, oh, so we like pick up our legs like this when we walked. Yeah, we're like, look, we're yogging. But yeah, I started walking every day after I got out of high school or practice. I'd go home, I'd shower, and then I'd walk 1.5 miles to this chick's house every day to hang out with her. And then like walk back at like 2 a.m, like 1.5 miles down like a bike trail, just to hang out with this girl every day. Yep. I almost got attacked by a mother raccoon, because of it. Yep. I was like walking across the street and I saw like a little baby raccoon and I was like, oh, it's a cute wait. And I stopped and like a second one came out in the street and I was like, no, you guys got a mom. And I started like backing away. And then like, sure enough, I got like 15 feet back and then the mother raccoon like jumped into like the sidewalk and she was like all skittered and like the hair was all up and she was like staring at me. And I'm like, yo, I ain't fucking with them babies. I'm trying to back up right here. And then she like ran off into the night with them. But yeah.
I like the idea that you fought her and you lost, but you just like told the story differently.
The shit out of me. I would never fight a raccoon. Those things are nasty. They have opposable thumbs, so they can like grab things.
Just gouge your eyes out like a Game of Thrones scene.
Asshole! You're like, ah. Yeah. Any animal with opposable thumbs is like one of the scariest things in the world. Because this is true, by the way. Vertical Horizon. Mm-hmm. Yep. Like, whatever I gotta do. Yep. Whatever it takes.
Men have 17 times more testosterone than women. So think of the horniest you've ever been and multiply that 17 times. I don't know, because I'm always horny and my testosterone is incredibly low. Like women have some testosterone and you're supposed to have like, I think it's like 19 or like it's a small amount, but mine was like 3. So I'm worried that if I get it fixed and it's a normal level, I'll just be like, I don't know.
We'll never see Amanda again.
You'll never see me again.
Time for this fucking stream.
Yeah, I'll just be like
sex. Yeah, she's just like sitting here, like the stream's like 15 minutes long. She's like, I gotta go, okay?
You just hear like I don't know, like one of those like giant like toys like whirring and like, like winding it up like a lawnmower, like.
She's just like, yeah, she's hitting her up. It's time to go because she turned on her. Yeah, I gotta go.
It's plugged into a generator. Like,
oh shit. Oh man. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
What were you? Oh, I used to drive up to my ex's house in Massachusetts 5.5 hours away while I was dating her, and she had to go back up there. Not ashamed to admit it, but I still kick myself.
Yeah.
Wait, 5.5 hours? Like how often?
That was a good question. Yeah, how often did you drive up there? Yep.
I don't know, man.
That is a good sketch idea.
What? Which one? The
Yeah,
industrial strength vibrators?
Yeah, like a podcast or whatever, just trying to get off. Yeah, and then she's like, you just hear like starting some shit up. Yeah, I gotta go take care of some stuff or whatever. Yeah.
I want to do a sketch, something about like called like the Ho Depot. I haven't really thought much more about it. It's just the Ho Depot, and you're like, oh yeah, this one's got a lot of torque on it, and it's like a dildo that like spins or like or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually that's good.
I have a lot of ideas. Like I think I might just do something called like a channel surfing situation where it's literally just like sketch ideas that I have, but I don't have like a hook or like a finishing to, and it just looks. I'll just like have the funny moment, and just have it be like somebody's changing channels because I don't have anything beyond that.
That's always a good. I mean, I think that's actually really funny sometimes to see that when you just see like a compilation of just ideas that didn't really go anywhere, but are just funny in the concept, but they wouldn't be funny if you tried to like execute a full thing on them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's like
maybe I'll do that.
Somebody can take a drink now. There's a whole episode of Chappelle where he does that. The whole episode is just scrapped ideas that they never got like off the ground, and one of them is where they go back in time. These guys are like they're haters. They're professional haters, and they go back in time. And they're like all dressed like pimps and stuff, and they go back to slave days and they just shoot a slave owner. Like they're like, when are we gonna be? They're like telling them about how they're from the future and how they're free in the future and stuff. Like, when are we gonna be free? And they're like, how about now? And they just shoot the slave owner. And they thought it was funny, but apparently the critics or no, the censors were like, you can't do that. And he's like, okay. Like, apparently the producers didn't find it very funny that they were shooting a white slave owner on television.
So the producers were really racist. They're like, they were slave owner apologists.
Yeah, they're like, hey, don't shoot slave owners. We like them.
They're our favorite.
About once a month, he said. That's.
I wouldn't do it, but I also maybe I would. No.
There's a range on how strong it is, but there are stories of people driving across the country to do stuff like that, just to get some. Yeah.
Across country?
Oh yeah. I know people have gone to like complete other states, saved up the money just to go hang out with some girl just to smash one time and come home. Yeah.
I feel like those are actually better because I imagine even if you have if you have the post-nut clarity thing, you don't have to feel guilty because you never have to see him again. Like, I would actually think cross-state hookups probably are way better for everybody because you're not going to mingle in the same communities. You're not going to run into your ex or something, like going to Kroger.
It's always weird, to run into like a hookup in public and you're like, oh God, I never thought I was going to see you again.
Right, you're like, oh, I ghosted you. I'm sorry.
Ooh, yeah, oh, we made out and like I never wanted to talk to you ever again.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah.
Just look at To Catch a Predator. They drive at least 6 hours to eat pizza with Chris Hansen. I'd eat pizza with Chris Hansen any day.
Yeah, and then you go to jail because I feel like that's always the end part of the pizza thing.
Is there a way to like I'm trying to imagine like catfishing Chris Hansen just to be able to meet him, like pretending to diddle kids just to get him to come there, like just to lure him in, just be like, I just want to meet you. I'm such a fan.
You like purposely set up the whole thing. And you know you're being catfished and everything, just hoping that Chris Hansen is on the other end. Like, so that when you show up there, you're like, yo, Chris, I'm not here for the girl. I'm here for you. Like, it's
trying to explain that to the FBI. It's like, you are the most prolific child, like, groomer, where I'm just like messaging them all the time. I'm like, no. I'm not interested in kids. Yeah. Just Chris Hansen.
Are you a cop? If you're a cop, you have to tell me. But if you're not a cop, blah, blah, blah. But like, yeah. And you just keep hinting at Chris Hansen. And then, he's like, he's finally here. Yeah. And you show up with a pizza box.
Boondocks already did that, Amanda. Really? Yeah. No, Boondocks kind of did it differently where he's like, he wanted to fuck Chris Hansen.
Wow, that's actually.
I can't remember. Was he like, he's like, I'm here for you.
So I've actually never watched the Boondocks.
It's so good.
Is that? Yeah, I've heard it was really good, but it's one of those ones. Excuse me. Like, I've also never watched Archer, but I've heard Archer's really good.
Oh, it's so good. It's really funny.
Yeah, those are like shows that they're on my list to watch, but I just never got a chance to actually sit down and watch them. But yeah, that's I really like that. You're just like, no, Chris, I'm here for you. I just wanted to eat pizza with you. It's not even sex. You just want to eat pizza with him.
Yeah, it's actually very wholesome. Like I do an unwholesome thing, or I pretend to do unwholesome things just to do something like have like a sleepover and braid his hair.
Yeah. Wow.
And Chris, and he's actually like flattered by it. He's actually like, you know what? I'm always asking people to take a seat, but nobody ever asks me to take a seat. Like,
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. He's like, you're still going to jail. Like, oh yeah, I know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, those pictures crossed the line. I just wasn't sure how to get you here. You weren't
I've
like taking my
horrible things. Like I have done terrible things, but this was nice. Yeah.
As I'm getting in the cop car, he's like, "Thanks." I'm like, "Anytime, Chris Hansen."
Yeah. He's like, there won't be another time. You're going to jail for the rest of your life.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say I'm getting in the chair. I was like, that's a little intense.
Well, that's how they're passing that in some places now. So
what? That if you diddle children, you?
Oh yeah, that you get the death penalty. Yeah, you just die.
Even if you're just trying to meet Chris Hansen.
Well, see, that's the thing. Once again, it's there needs to be nuance in the laws. It's terrible. This may be the darkest conversation we've ever had.
Oh, about like capital punishment?
Well, mostly about like how we fake diddling kids saying that Chris Hansen.
It's not dark because I'm not actually doing it. I'm just pretending to do it.
Yeah. Okay. God damn it.
Oh no. You mean committing Minecraft? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good. I just saw this one. Yeah, kept showing up thinking they were meeting kids, kept committing suicide when they found out it was Chris Hansen. Oh, yikes. Oh, so a show I have been watching, and I told you about this, is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And the show, I think, is one of the funniest shows on television. I can't believe I've gone this long without watching the show, and I just don't know how they've gotten rid of it as far as they have. But they were talking about a sketch one time that they sent to Danny DeVito, and apparently they wanted to see how far they could push Danny before he would finally say no. And so they sent him this sketch idea where where his character goes to prison, and when he gets to prison, he gets assaulted sexually. I don't want to use the word because YouTube doesn't like that word, but like that's what happens to him. So he like starts going to these different gangs to like try to get protection, and all the gangs then just like do the same thing to him. And then he like goes to the prison guards, and the prison guards all do it. And I think that idea is one of the funniest fucking things I've ever heard. I was laughing so hard just reading the description of it. But apparently Danny DeVito was like, I can't do this. Like, this is terrible. Like, I can't do this episode. So he wouldn't do it. But I thought that idea was one of the funniest things. And it made me think about, like, how many ideas are out there that were, like, too offensive for, like, television, but are, like, just sitting on the cutting room floor where, like, I was like, that's really hilarious. I wish they would have like followed through with that.
I think I might do that. Like when I do like memberships or something, like obviously like stuff that could get me in trouble on YouTube or something. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's still considered a YouTube, even if it's not public, but like having sketches that I shelved or like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I think it would be a great idea. Or like, even if you do, I don't know, a Patreon or something where you go like, hey, this like has exclusive access to like the lost sketches.
Yeah. The lost archives. Like,
yeah. It's just all these sketches that you can't air because you know they're way too offensive.
There's a couple that I'm like debating filming, but I don't want to film something just to not, like, I'm not going to put all that work into it to not post them, but I keep being like.
That's why if you get a vault somewhere, like if you know you can get a vault somewhere to post those ideas, then you can just save them and do them.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I'm not going to put stuff, like I need to make content for the channel.
Oh, that's
like,
true, yeah.
And so it's like, why would I make something that I know I'm not going to be able to get away with when I could make stuff that's, I don't know.
That you could yeah. I mean, there's just ideas like that are just, I'm like, dang, I wish this could have been something.
Because it's like, obviously they're not condoning it. It's just funny, like, I don't know if it's nihilism. It's the pylon effect. Like where you're like, it's just like for some reason that makes me laugh really hard. Like when somebody in a show is just having a really bad day and then it just keeps like
just keeps getting worse and worse.
Why is that funny to me? Like it's like maybe, but it's more like, I don't know. It's like when I was talking about trauma camp when somebody was going around cutting people's brake lines on our bikes. And I thought it was the funniest thing. I could not stop laughing when I was on my bike, just thinking about like, I didn't check my brakes.
Yeah.
hope I can stop. And then just thinking about like, what if somebody more traumatized than me, like, you know, like I'm like moderately traumatized, but like some people coming in have been like through the ringer, and they're like, you know, like my trafficker finally, like, you know, doesn't know where I am, and I'm finally safe, and okay, you know, like the world is like terrifying to them, and they think this is a safe place, and everything about this place is like, you're safe now, you're okay, only to have them like get on their bike and then break every bone in their body because somebody cut their brake lines. Like, that's fucking funny to me, but I don't know what that's called, where it's just like,
either.
Is it just dark humor, like gallows humor maybe, or like the kind of hopelessness of life where you're like, you try to do all this stuff, or, you know, somebody who like survives cancer only to get hit by a bus and die, you know, die the next day. Like, what is that? It's not Schadenfreude. I feel like it's,
I don't know, actually. I mean, gallows humor is the correct term for it. The enjoyment of dark and twisted humor that takes its name from those about to be hanged. But I don't know. Like, I don't know why that's funny. I don't know. I mean, I will say this. I know people, one place that you find a lot, my buddy's an EMT. He says that there's like a lot of like really effed up dark humor, and also in the military where they'll just make like these horrible jokes, but it's because they're coping with the situation. Like I just watched one where like, I watched a video where this guy was talking about he was in the Air Force, and they dropped a drone strike because this guy was like setting up like an explosive device like right outside of like a military base. So they dropped a drone strike on his ass, and they watched his body like fall to the ground and die. And like the commanding officer walks in with like a bag of jelly beans, and he's like watching. He's like, "Huh, jelly bean?" And they just fell out fucking laughing, and they just laughed and laughed. And then they had a jelly bean, and they're like, "Obviously it's fucked up. Like we just killed the guy." Yeah. But in that moment, there was like almost like a way to cope with it, and you're like, if you wrap it in humor, then you don't have to bury it. Because that's the other thing about comedy is like comedy isn't trying to hide anything; it's trying to throw it right in your face. You have to just confront it, you know.
And that's why I think I feel like that's probably why a lot of comedians have some sort of depression or some sort of mental health stuff, because I feel like you do have to kind of be willing to deal with like life's darker stuff to be able to make jokes about it. I don't know. For me, that was always a way to get through things, was just to laugh at it. And like, I don't know. I'm always like asking my friend about her cancer. And just being
cancer
like,
jokes are pretty good.
I don't know. Because it's like, you know, what can she do about it? Like, it's like, oh, are you okay? Versus being like, I don't know. How's your fucking cancer?
Yeah. Well, like, yeah. Oh, you're not dead yet, huh?
Yeah. I was like, yeah. Has the cancer taken you yet, or what?
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
I remember listening to a group of comedians talk about that one time. They were talking about how one of their buddies, like, that's what he does. Like, if he knows you're sick or he knows you're not doing well, he'll just call you and he makes you laugh, because he's like, everybody else is calling you and going, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, poor you," and stuff like that. And he calls you and he's like making jokes and stuff, and you're laughing. And by the end of it, you feel better, because like laughter is like a medicine to people, you know? I just pulled up an article about gallows humor. And this is actually a joke. This is a little thing from Ellie Weasel. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah.
Eli Weasel or whatever. Yeah. In like one of the internment camps they were in Treblinka, where a day's food was some stale bread and a cup of rotting soup, one prisoner cautions a fellow inmate against gluttony. "Hey, Moish, don't overeat. Think of us who will have to carry you." And apparently, like, they would just make jokes like that, and you're like, a joke in like internment camp, like, or whatever, concentration camp, is like awful.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It helps them get through. I feel like it helps keep you in touch with like your humanity, because like if nothing's too scary to laugh at, I don't know, like joking about death is fun for me, because then it makes me less afraid of death. And then it's like, well, if I'm not afraid of death, I ain't afraid of nothing, you know? Like,
yeah,
I think that's what helps. I think that's what it is, like dark humor. That's why, like in the military, or I'm gonna butcher your name, I'm sorry, Anaya said it's really common in social work, because it's like you're kind of helpless against a lot of stuff in life. Like, life happens and it comes at you fast, and you have no control over what happens, but you can joke about it.
That's my buddy Anna. Thank you for coming and hanging out.
Hello, Anna.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like you said, it helps you confront a darker issue that would maybe make you cry in the face of it, or anything like that. I mean, well, you know what? I can tell this now because it's been long enough. But I remember during the like 9/11, because we were watching it like as it happened. I remember we were on a bathroom break in like, I don't know, 4th grade or 5th grade or something, or maybe it was 6th grade. I don't remember. Anyways, and somebody was like, yo, something happened to the towers. And so my teacher like brings us in the room, and they turn on the TV, and she is like sobbing uncontrollably because we had just watched the first tower had already fallen, and then the second tower fell while she was watching and everything. And me and my buddy had no idea what we were watching, and we made a joke about one of the teachers that we went to school with that was like really overweight, that he must have gone on vacation and got in one of the buildings or whatever, and that's why the building fell. And I still to this day think that joke is really funny. Like, it was pretty great. But at the moment, we didn't really know what we were taking in. We just knew that like our teacher was hysterical. And so me and him just made jokes with each other about it. But like, I don't know, you know, there's that kind of there's that thing too of like amongst friends or something. Like, yeah, you have a friend with cancer, and so the engagement, instead of like constantly being in sadness about it, because you have sobering moments too. It's not like you only ever joke. But the thing is, it's a funny thing to hear like, oh, are you dead yet? Because now you're like almost mocking death.
Yeah, it's like, when can I get your stuff?
Yeah, like yeah. Also, make sure like the will is pretty sound, please, because like I'm not dealing with Well, like
it's like, look, I need an Instapot. I don't want to order a new one. Hurry it up.
Yeah, because like seriously, I need one now. And the fact that you're still here is really kind of bothering me.
It's a little bit like, I don't even know like what kind of friend you are. You're being really inconsiderate right now.
Yeah, but like it is funny, but it also helps like you said, ease that tension, and it takes power of things. And a really good example of that too was like Mel Brooks in The Producers, because like I remember watching this whole video essay this person did about the Holocaust and how he's like doing a movie where you make Hitler look like a really powerful, dangerous, scary figure, but you like talk about how evil he is. They're like, that doesn't really disempower Hitler. It just makes him look dangerous. Like if you make him like a super being that was like this monstrous figure that like whatever, but to have him like be on stage during a Broadway musical played by a very effeminate gay man,
right,
is fucking hilarious. Like that the whole like Heil Myself song.
Yeah, Heil Myself.
Yeah. Like when like they're doing the whole like Springtime for Hitler, and you're like, this is awful but hilarious. But when he comes out and like he's doing the salute and then he like does the pose, I fucking lost it. I couldn't breathe. It's so fucking funny because Mel Brooks said it. He's like, I was the first Jew to make a buck off of Hitler, because that's disempowering. You're literally mocking the man.
Right.
Like everything about his existence, none of it's serious. The whole idea of him being an effeminate gay man is very funny.
Or it's like Jojo Rabbit. It was a similar thing like that, where it's like people were like, how can you make a movie that's a comedy about World War II or the Holocaust or whatever? It's like, easily. Yeah. Because you're not, it's the butt of the joke is him.
Yes. And how ridiculous and stupid he is. And like the best line of that movie is fuck off Hitler when he kicks him out the window. Oh my gosh. I laughed. But like up to that point I've been crying because it's a horrible fucking, it's like super sad. But him kicking Hitler out of a window like a 10-year-old kid is fucking hilarious. And it's like very satisfying.
My dad was very confused when he watched that movie.
Really?
Because I told him, I was like, it's a comedy, but it's a dark comedy. You'll laugh, you'll cry, like you'll feel all the feelings. And he's like, okay. And I think he has a hard time with like nuance. So for him, he's like, I can't laugh at this. This is a movie about tragedy. It's like, it's about like, it's a little bit more than a slice of life, but it's kind of a slice of life from the perspective of a child. Yes. And so it's like, it's who you're laughing at that determines whether it's mean-spirited or whether it's satire or whatever. It's like, if you're making fun, if you're punching up, they say, like, if you're punching at the person in power, it's, I don't know. It was just very interesting. Like it was the only time I've ever seen him speechless. Like after a movie, I was like, I couldn't tell if he liked it. And he's like, I need to think about it. Yeah. And it's weird because I'm like, I didn't make you watch Schindler's List. Like, yeah, but that's the thing though. Schindler's List, you know what it is. Yeah. You know what it is. But to watch a movie that is so like full of comedy and like funniness and this like sense of what's going on in the background is awful. And then like when it hits, because like for people that haven't seen it, please go out and watch it. It's worth it. But like the scene
where it becomes real for him
Mm-hmm.
is so like hard. I actually gasped audibly. I don't do that shit in movies, and I gasped. I was like, because I didn't see it coming until it did, and then it was too late. I was like, fuck. Yeah. And then like, I don't know. There's also something very beautiful because like, I don't know, the ending and how it ends is so perfect. Like as a way to almost like shit on all of what happened and all the terrible things that have happened, that like after all of that, like you can still dance and like smile about something that you survived that was horrendous, you know? And that's, I think sometimes like, you know, like my friend Anna said, like comedy is tragedy plus time, you know? And sometimes that time can be like in that moment, and some people need longer, but like the reality is like, we talk about horrible things and address things like that because sometimes it is funny. It's not funny to hear like, hey, I had a mental breakdown and went to like a horse camp because I didn't know how to handle life anymore.
I mean, it's a little funny.
But then it is funny. But that's the thing. Like in the moment, you're not thinking, this is really funny. I'm going to a horse camp. You're like, oh my God, I need to get away from here because I'm going crazy.
I think Starcross Line said something about it like an hour ago, and it was really funny. But it was something like it was something I said or whatever, and then he's like, call the horses. So for those of you who don't know, the joke was that when I went to Crazy Lady Horse Camp, like I went to like a kind of like a rehab, like treatment center thing, and there were horses there. It was like equine therapy. But the joke is that it wasn't a treatment center. It was literally just me, like in a field of horses. Like I was like hiding in some lady's barn, just talking to animals, and like the horses were my therapist.
Yeah, and she really thought she cured herself. She was like, I did it. I'm better, guys. Yeah. Like, isn't that good? And then they're just like, yeah, wow. And then she told the name of the camp and everything. There's no, you can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, there's no. It's just a field.
It's just a fucking field. Yeah. But I don't know. But yeah, also the idea of being in a trauma camp and like just somebody's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to start cutting brake lines. It's very funny.
Sowing chaos at trauma camp. Traumatizing people at trauma camp is funny. Like, like it's not funny to the people who actually got traumatized. Although it did happen to one guy there who I hated because he was always, I think I might have talked about him. He like would always use his like, I'm sad and I'm addicted to opioids kind of thing to try and get girls to feel bad for him so that he could like hug them and kind of like touch them in a weird way. He was like a middle-aged dad. It was really, it was weird because like all the girls were like, oh, he's like my dad. I'm like, and they're all there because their dad's probably like diddled them. So like they have a confused relationship about people who are like their dad. So they were completely fine with him like touching them weird. Like one of the girls, he like, who did he do to me? I think he did it like once and then he never did it again because I was like,
because he felt your huge penis.
He felt my dick and he was like, oh, her dick's bigger than mine.
Holy shit.
Girl dick.
Yeah.
Her mom dong. But no, like I think he tried to kiss my shoulder or something. Ugh. I think I moved it up to like not like headbutt him, but like shoulder butt him or something, and he like didn't do it again. But like he did that to a couple other girls, and like he would in therapy, I would watch him like in the group sessions. He'd be sitting there like, I would say I'm breaking NDA or like HIPAA, but I'm like, I have no obligation. I'm not a doctor.
Bitch, I ain't there no more. What are the horses gonna do to me?
They're gonna kick me in the head. In group therapy, like he'd be like trying to comfort them by like putting his hand like on their crotch, but like right in the Barbie joint, I call it, and just kind of rubbing there and be like, so like he flipped off his bike. I did not feel bad for him. He was riding. He went, but then he milked it even more because then like all the girls felt bad for him because like, oh no, are you hurt? He's like, yeah, I'm hurt, please. Anyway, all that to say, like, I don't know. It was kind of justice. Maybe he was just the guy cutting the brake lines was just a vigilante.
Yeah, maybe it was one of the horses.
Wait, horses are terrible people, but it turns out great clinicians. Who knew?
Yeah. The Barbie joint. Yeah, I've never heard of the Barbie joint before.
I don't know what else to call it because it's like not your crotch, but it's not your thigh. It's just the part like where it connects.
The spot in between. Yeah.
It's the part where you'd break off the Barbie leg. Did you ever do that? You just pop it off?
Mm-hmm.
And
just start breaking Barbie's legs off, huh?
Yeah, and just diddle yourself. That's gross. I'm being gross.
Wow, yeah.
You just shove it.
You just snap off the leg and you're like, what am I gonna do with this?
Bloop. No, that's not We would tie our Barbies to the ceiling fan.
See, that makes sense.
I get to see like you'd put one on each blade, and we would use it with like a belt. It's actually maybe I was like reenacting like generational trauma or something, because it's like just a bunch of Barbies hanging from a ceiling fan. But then you turn the fan on and you jump behind the couch as it starts to like pick up motion, and you just see how long, like which Barbie, you take bets on like which Barbie would go off first. But I think we had to stop because I think it hit the TV once.
I like how you're like working through generational trauma, like you just got picked up and like put on a ceiling fan and just spun until you flew off.
No, I meant more like, I am a little bit black, Mike.
Working through. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, you're working through your racial.
Put it together.
Yeah. You Germans and your horrible, history of racism.
Yes, that's what it is. It's the racial trauma. Yeah, my Nazi
funny, as
side.
I was like thinking about it, I was gonna be like, oh, you poor. I was like, oh, wait a minute, never mind. That's actually pretty bad too.
Yeah, all of them are bad.
Yeah, you don't really have a place you can go. That's not really a bad time for you. Yeah.
Don't worry, there's a handicap Barbie now, so you don't have to remove those pesky limbs yourself. That's nice. They've thought of everything.
Yeah, they have a Down syndrome Barbie now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will say this. When you said earlier, you're like, I don't need to be represented by my video games. I will say, I think my thing is that adults, if you need to be represented by somebody who looks like you, that's a little bit weirder. Like you would hope by the time you're an adult, you would have other things that you feel like are you, not just your outer trappings. But for children, I understand. So I will say, I will give that to people. But the people complaining are like grown ass adults. And I don't really understand that. We're like, I don't feel represented. It's like,
well, here's the thing, though. Like, if I teach my kids that representation is only their skin color, then I've kind of done them a disservice as to whether or not I'm doing them a disservice as to like their identity in the world. Because, like, yes, I think there should be conversations about race with children when they're a little older. As they get older and they start asking questions about things like that, my kids at a certain point were like, hey, this person has darker skin than I do, or this person doesn't, or why is my skin darker? Things like that. You have conversations with them about that. But I grew up and watched television and didn't see like a kid with an afro growing up. I just saw like Spider-Man or whatever, and I was like, oh, I want to be like him one day or whatever. And like it was cool occasionally see like a black kid or whatever, but it was in the context of like what felt, I guess, realistic. Because I don't know. That's the other thing too, is I don't want to see myself represented in a show where I'm poorly represented. Like if I'm watching like Seventh Heaven and they like bring a black character on and he literally just talks like ghetto as fuck, and he's like, yo, what up, man, or whatever, and he's like causing problems. I'm like, I don't want to watch that. Like, and then you also watch like I remember watching Degrassi when I was growing up. My buddy got me hooked on that stupid fucking show. I'm still mad at him to this day about that. We watched like fucking Degrassi together, and then you have like Drake on there, and he gets shot and like is in a wheelchair and stuff. I'm like, I didn't feel represented because Drake was on a show. I just thought it was weird when he became a rapper, and I was like, this guy was on Degrassi.
Like, it's Josh.
That's Jimmy. That's wheelchair Jimmy.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess there's like a balance to it all. But also, I try not to like lose a ton of sleep over it.
I lose all the sleep over it. I think about equity and inclusion every night before I go to bed. I say my prayers to Black female Jesus, and I say do 10 Hail Marys and
to Black female Mary.
To Black female, Black, I don't know, non-binary Mary. Non-binary Mary is kind of like
Black birthing person.
Yes, Black
Jesus
the
birthing
Black
person.
Or like the Virgin Mary. So it's like the Black. It doesn't matter what her status is, her sexual preferences are Mary.
Yeah. Our mother of vagues and grace.
Anna said, "Oh, didn't pop up." Okay. Hot take. People conflate what they are with who they are. I am female, like I am right-handed, or I am tall, or like I am, etc. Yeah, it's like the most like the stuff that you either have no control over, or like the stuff that really is pretty irrelevant, like the stuff you'd fill out like I am this tall, I have this much whatever. Like granted, I would say like if you're extreme, like if you're an extremely tall person or you're a little person, that could be a little bit more like relevant to who you are because it changes your world experience if you're like 7 feet tall or 3 feet tall. But like for the most part, your physical trappings, I would actually say being ugly actually probably has more bearing than your race. No, they say if you're attractive, you get like better partners, we make more money at work, you get better jobs, like your life experience is just easier. So I would actually say attractiveness is one of the biggest either handicaps or what's the opposite of a handicap? Like boons?
Benefits.
Yeah. Because like, you could look like Taye Diggs. I'm sure Taye Diggs isn't like, man, I'll trade places with an ugly white guy any day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, which is also one of the things that doesn't get talked about is like, yeah, when you're really successful, and then you're arguing for like equity, but not addressing the fact that you're like black and successful. They're like, well, I remember I think it was LeBron James or something. He was like, you guys don't got to wear suits to like the draft and so like that's all these basketball players. And then like this one guy was like, you can tell these guys not to wear suits to the draft. He goes, watch them not get drafted because they didn't dress up. Like,
right.
You go to business meetings, you dress up and you dress nice. Telling them to like dress how they want to. He goes, you have the benefit of being wealthy and successful and you can dress however you want. Nobody can say anything to you. But like when you're up and coming, you do have to dress nicely and you have to present yourself a certain way, and telling people that they don't have to is doing them a disservice.
Yeah. Why? I don't understand that. Like, why would you cut people off the kneecaps? It's like, let people try to be successful. Let people try to get to where you got.
Yep. And also showing somebody like going like, hey, there's different clothing for different occasions. Because maybe because if you want real equity, that person may have never been in a position where they could have dressed up nicely. They probably never had a context for it. So they don't understand why they would, but then you show them why. You give them an opportunity to dress up nicely and go to a nice event and see themselves celebrated for who they are. That's wonderful. And that's a good experience for somebody. Or go to a job interview dressed nicely so you can show, like, guess what? When you're professional, this is how you act and this is how you present yourself, I think there's like a balance between all of that, But once again, nuance and stuff is not a thing that we have in this society very much now.
Says the guy who's drinking straight moonshine out of a jug.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, this is America. I can do that. This is just literally just jet fuel. Just gasoline.
Just straight up gasoline. You're like, look, times are hard. I can't afford moonshine. What do you think I'm made of? This is straight from my car.
Yeah, I just siphoned this shit out of my car and drank it. Yeah.
As if somehow gas is cheaper. I guess nothing works. Jokes don't work in inflation.
No, nothing. Yeah, everything sucks in inflation. So
yeah, everything's expensive.
Yeah, everything's just, everybody's just broke and frustrated. Yeah. But,
I was gonna say I need to go fire up the dildo.
Amanda's getting horny and she's like, I gotta go. I really need to.
Well, what if that's how I ended the stream every time? I was like, all right, well, swing.
Yeah, she's like, yo, I gotta get some.
Yeah, I gotta get some of that post nut clarity you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, it was good to be back and doing this again. Maybe you should stop canceling the stream.
Maybe you should pay my mortgage so I don't have to work.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Well, just believe in myself.
If you just start pushing the Streamlabs link a little bit more, maybe we can start paying your mortgage with that.
Yes, we can. Okay. Here, hold on. Let me put it in the thing. I should have it like open, but I just don't.
I like that. About that time, dildo clock.
It's a dildo clock.
Yep.
Yes. That's hold on. Let me, for anybody who wants it, here you go.
Testosterone.
I'm just saying, if I had full testosterone, y'all wouldn't be able to tell me nothing. I would not be here. I would just be out there causing mayhem and destruction.
Yeah, out there humping Chris Hansen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eating pizza with him, humping him, and braiding his hair all at the same time.
all at the same time.
He's like, I'm so confused, but also I'm into it.
I don't know what's happening, but it feels so good. And until the post-nut clarity, and then he's like, oh God, what have I done?
He's like, oh.
Yeah, I've gone back on everything I stand for. Jeez. Do you have outro music? Are we gonna play outro music?
I can put some on. Is there
I
some
don't
dumb
even know how to
one?
do that.
What's a dumb one? Is this one dumb? Oh no, that one we've used before. What about... Sure. This one's anticlimactic. Let's do that one.
I think this is the one we were frustrated about because it took so long to get started.
It does it like what? It's like my winding up my my sex drive. I'm like, this takes so long, and then the whole process. It's not even worth it. I don't get post nut clarity because I don't nut.
Yeah, it just takes forever. Just start slapping around. It's like, whatever.
I'm done. I'm bored. Let's watch TV. Anyway, do you have anything going on, Mike, that you want to plug?
Tomorrow at 1 p.m. We're doing Secrets of the Frost Maiden. Just had Comics Division join to replace Nick for leaving, and now Cord Black Garrett's gone. His character died.
Oh.
Well, he had to leave because he's doing a thing, but now
Okay.
also his character died on the same night. So Rudai finally got one. He was very happy about that.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Congratulations to him. I will punish him for that as soon as I can. So.
Well, go check that out. Follow Epic Verse on all the things. Follow Daywalker Comedy on all the things. And go diddle and be free.
Yeah, diddle with yourself, not other people.
I mean...
Unless your post-nut clarity won't make you regret
it. Don't do anything your post-nut clarity will make you regret. That's Daywalker says.
That's the best advice ever.